Soft candlelight. The sound of a brass plate being set down on wood. April the 14th, 1873. My master has instructed me to begin with the main plate. Always the main plate. It is brass. Good brass from the mill in Lancashire. 3 inches in diameter. Precisely 3 inches. We measured it this morning with the calipers. 3 times we measured. 3 inches each time. The sound of fingers running across metal. The main plate sits before me now. Cool to the touch. The brass catches the lamplight, a warm, buttery color that reminds me of nothing in particular. Simply brass. There are 4 holes already drilled in this plate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each hole was drilled on Tuesday last. The first hole measures 1/16 of an inch across. I know this because I measured it. With the calipers. The calipers are cold. Always cold. Even in summer, I suspect they would be cold. The soft metallic sound of calipers opening and closing. The second hole is the same size as the first. 1/16 of an inch. I have measured it as well. The third hole is also 1/16 of an inch. The fourth, naturally, is 1/16 of an inch. They must all be the same. Master says symmetry is not merely aesthetic. It is functional. The watch must be balanced. Balance is everything. Before we can proceed, I must clean the main plate. There is a cloth here. Linen. White linen, though it has yellowed somewhat with use. I take the corner of the cloth between my thumb and forefinger. My thumb is on top. My forefinger beneath. I apply gentle pressure. Now I draw the cloth across the surface of the main plate. Slowly. From the left side to the right side. The cloth makes almost no sound. Just the whisper of linen on brass. I can feel the slight texture of the metal through the fabric. Small imperfections. Microscopic valleys and peaks that no eye can see but the fingers know. I lift the cloth. I reposition it. Again, I draw it across the plate. Right to left this time. The same whisper. The same imperceptible texture. There may be dust. There may be the oil from my own fingertips, though I try not to touch the brass with bare skin. Still. One must be thorough. A third pass. This time I work in a circular motion. Starting from the outer edge. Moving inward. Slowly. The circle grows smaller. And smaller. Until I reach the center. The very center of the main plate where the great wheel will eventually sit. But we are not to the great wheel yet. We are still cleaning. Master says a watch contains 130 parts. Some watches contain more. Some contain fewer. This watch, this particular pocket watch, will contain 137 parts when it is complete. I know this because Master has shown me the list. The list is written in brown ink. Very neat handwriting. Each part numbered. 1 through 137. The main plate is part number 1. The plate is clean now. I can see my reflection in it. Distorted. Curved. My face looks longer than it should. My apprentice's cap sits at an odd angle in the reflection, though it sits properly on my head. I set the main plate down on the leather mat. The mat is brown. Cow leather. It prevents scratching. It also prevents the parts from rolling away, though the main plate is too heavy to roll. Some of the smaller parts would roll. The jewels, for instance. The tiny rubies. They would roll right off the workbench if not for the leather mat. Next, I must retrieve the bottom plate pillars. There are 4 of them. They are stored in the 3rd drawer of the parts cabinet. The cabinet is made of oak. English oak. It has 22 drawers. Each drawer has a small brass pull. The pulls are tarnished. I have been meaning to polish them, but there is always work to be done on the watches. I open the 3rd drawer. It slides smoothly. Master oils the drawer slides once every month. On the 1st Monday of each month. The drawer contains many small compartments. Wooden dividers separate each compartment. The pillars are in the second compartment from the left. There they are. 4 pillars. Each one is cylindrical. Made of brass, like the main plate. Each pillar is exactly, I know because I measured them during my first week of apprenticeship, each pillar is exactly 7/8 of an inch in length. I pick up the first pillar. I hold it between my thumb and forefinger. It is cool. Smooth. I can feel the threads at each end where the screws will go. The threads were cut by Master himself. He used the lathe. The lathe is in the corner of the workshop. It is made of iron. Very heavy iron. I set the first pillar down on the leather mat. Beside the main plate. Not too close. Perhaps 2 inches away. Now I retrieve the second pillar. It is identical to the first. 7/8 of an inch. Brass. Threaded on both ends. I place it beside the first pillar. The third pillar. Again, identical. Sometimes I wonder if there's any difference between them at all, these pillars. Perhaps at the smallest level, the level Master speaks of, the level we cannot see, perhaps there are differences. A molecule here. A molecule there. But to my eye, they are the same. The third pillar joins the others. Now the fourth pillar. The last of the bottom plate pillars. I reach into the compartment. My fingers touch it. It rolls slightly. Just slightly. I steady it with my middle finger and grasp it properly between thumb and forefinger. This pillar, I notice, has a tiny mark on it. A minuscule scratch. Perhaps 1/32 of an inch long. Or shorter. It is difficult to say. The scratch does not affect the function. Master says small imperfections in non-critical areas are acceptable. The watch will not know the difference. The owner will not know the difference. Only I will know. Only I will remember this scratch. I place the fourth pillar with the others. Now there are 4 pillars on the leather mat, arranged in a row beside the main plate. 1, 2, 3, 4. I must check the measurements once more. It is always wise to check. Master checks his work 3 times. He says the first measurement is for discovery. The second is for confirmation. The third is for certainty. I am not yet skilled enough to trust even my third measurement, so sometimes I measure 4 times. Or 5. The soft metallic click of calipers opening. The calipers are where I left them. To the right of the oil lamp. The lamp flickers occasionally. Just now it flickered. A small movement in the flame. Perhaps a draft from beneath the door. The workshop is never entirely without drafts. I take the calipers in my right hand. My dominant hand. I am right-handed. Master is left-handed. He says this makes no difference in watchmaking. The hands learn what the mind teaches them. Left or right. It is all the same to the hands once they have learned. I open the calipers. The hinge is well made. Smooth. There is no resistance. I position the jaws around the first pillar. The one without the scratch. I close the jaws slowly. Until they just touch the brass on either side. Not too tight. Master says if you squeeze too hard, you compress the metal. Even brass, which seems so solid, can compress. Everything compresses if you apply enough force. I hold the calipers up to the light. The measurement reads, 7/8 of an inch. Yes. As it should be. I set down the calipers. I pick them up again. I measure the first pillar again. 7/8 of an inch. The second measurement confirms the first. Now the second pillar. I position the calipers. I close the jaws. Slowly. Just until they touch. I examine the measurement. 7/8 of an inch. I expected this. Still, it is good to confirm. The third pillar. The process is the same. Open the calipers. Position them. Close them slowly. Read the measurement. 7/8 of an inch. The fourth pillar. The one with the scratch. I wonder if the scratch affects the measurement. Surely it must, at some infinitesimal level. But the caliper's read 7/8 of an inch. The same as the others. The scratch is too small to register. Too insignificant. I find this oddly comforting. That something can exist, this scratch exists, I can see it, and yet be too small to matter. Too small to change the measurement. I set the calipers aside once more. The sound of wood creaking. A chair, perhaps. Now I must select the screws. The screws that will fasten the pillars to the main plate. There are many types of screws in the cabinet. Different sizes. Different purposes. The screws I need are in the 7th drawer. I remember this because 7 is an important number. 7 days in a week. 7 notes in a musical scale. 7 screws, no, that is not correct. 4 screws. I need 4 screws. I open the 7th drawer. It slides as smoothly as the 3rd drawer. Inside are compartments. So many compartments. The screws are organized by size. The smallest screws are on the left. They progress toward the right, growing larger. The screws I need are in the 5th compartment. These screws are very small. Each one measures, I know because Master told me, 3/16 of an inch in length. The head of each screw is flat. Perfectly flat. There is a single slot cut across the top of each head. This is where the screwdriver will fit. The slot must be perfectly centered. If the slot is off-center, the screw will not drive true. It will cant to one side. This is unacceptable. I select the first screw. I hold it up to the lamplight. I can see the threads. Tiny threads spiraling down the shaft. Each thread is evenly spaced from the next. The precision is remarkable. Master cut these threads himself. On the lathe. It would have taken him several minutes per screw. Several minutes of absolute concentration. One error in the screw is ruined. The brass cannot be uncut. Cannot be rewound. I count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 threads on this screw. I count again to be certain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yes. 16 threads. The flame flickers again. I set the first screw on the leather mat. It is so small. I must be careful not to lose it. Once, in my 2nd month of apprenticeship, I lost a screw. It rolled off the mat and fell to the floor. I searched for 20 minutes. Finally I found it. It had rolled into a crack between 2 floorboards. Master said nothing. But I knew he was disappointed. Since then, I have not lost a screw. The 2nd screw. I examine it as I examine the first. The threads look identical. I count them anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 threads. I place it beside the first screw on the mat. The 3rd screw. Again I count. The counting has a rhythm to it. A cadence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The numbers are like a prayer. Like the rosary prayers my mother says each evening. She counts her beads. I count threads. 16 threads on the 3rd screw. The 4th screw. The final screw for this stage of assembly. I lift it from the compartment. It catches the light. For a moment it seems to glow. Just for a moment. Then it is simply brass again. Dull brass. I count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All 4 screws have 16 threads. This is as it should be. If one screw had 15 threads, or 17, it would not seat properly. The pillar would sit at an angle. The watch would be compromised before it was even begun. I close the 7th drawer. The screws rest on the leather mat now. 4 screws. 4 pillars. 1 main plate. Before I begin fastening the pillars to the main plate, I must prepare the screw holes. They were drilled on Tuesday, as I mentioned. But they must be cleaned. Brass filings remain in the threads. Small curls of brass. Almost invisible. But they are there. I know they are there because they are always there. After drilling, after any cutting of brass, there is a tool for this. A thread chaser. It is kept in the 9th drawer. The 9th drawer is 2 drawers below the 7th drawer. I open it. The thread chaser is in the first compartment. It is a simple tool. A wooden handle. Very smooth wood. Walnut, I believe. The handle fits comfortably in the palm. At the end of the handle is a small brass tip. Threaded. The threads match the threads in the screw holes. I take the thread chaser in my right hand. I position it over the first screw hole in the main plate. The first hole. The one I measured earlier. 1/16 of an inch in diameter. I place the threaded tip into the hole. I begin to turn the handle. Clockwise. Slowly. The threads engage. I can feel them catching. Biting into the existing threads in the brass plate. 1 full rotation. 2 full rotations. 3 full rotations. 4 full rotations. The thread chaser descends into the hole. I continue turning. 5 rotations. 6 rotations. 7 rotations. 8 rotations. At 8 rotations, the thread chaser reaches the bottom of the hole. I can feel the resistance. I stop turning. Now I must reverse the direction. Counterclockwise. To remove the thread chaser. 1 rotation backward. 2 rotations backward. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The thread chaser emerges from the hole. I examine the tip. There are tiny brass filings clinging to the threads. Small curls. Almost like hair. Like the hair that collects in a comb. I take the linen cloth. I wipe the tip clean. The filings fall onto the cloth. Later, much later, I will take the cloth outside and shake it. The filings will fall into the street. They will mix with the dust. They will be swept away. Or they will remain. It makes no difference. The thread chaser is clean now. I move to the second hole in the main plate. I position the thread chaser. I insert the tip. I begin to turn. Clockwise. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotations. The thread chaser descends. I feel the resistance at the bottom. I reverse direction. Counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotations backward. The thread chaser emerges. Again, there are filings on the tip. I wipe them onto the linen cloth. The same cloth I used to clean the main plate earlier. The cloth is becoming dirty. Soon I will need a clean cloth. But not yet. This cloth still has use in it. The third hole. I insert the thread chaser. I turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotations. Down into the hole. The threads engage. They always engage. This is the nature of threads. They are designed to engage. Master says threads are humanity's answer to the screw pine. The screw pine grows with a twist. Nature invented the helix. We merely copied it. Everything we make, someone else made first. We are not creators. We are imitators. The flame flickers. Shadows move on the wall. I reverse the thread chaser. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotations. It emerges. I wipe it clean. More brass filings on the cloth. The fourth hole. The final hole. I position the thread chaser. My hand knows the motion now. The body learns through repetition. Master says this is how skill develops. Not through thinking. Through doing. The hand must do something 1,000 times before it truly knows how to do it. I have chased threads perhaps 200 times. I have 800 more times before my hand will truly know. I turn the thread chaser. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotations. Clockwise. The tip descends into the fourth hole. The last hole. I reach the bottom. I reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotations. Counterclockwise. The thread chaser emerges. I wipe it clean. I return it to the 9th drawer. The drawer slides closed. A long exhale. Now the holes are prepared. The pillars are ready. The screws are ready. I may begin the actual assembly. The first true joining of parts. This is significant. Once the pillars are fastened to the main plate, the watch begins to exist. Not as a finished thing, but as a beginning. As a foundation. I take the first pillar. The one without the scratch. I position it over the first screw hole. The hole in the main plate. The pillar has a threaded hole in its base. This hole must align perfectly with the hole in the main plate. A soft metallic contact. Brass on brass. The pillar stands now. Vertical. Perpendicular to the main plate. I must hold it steady with my left hand while my right hand retrieves the screw. The first screw. The one I counted earlier. 16 threads. I remember this. I counted them twice. I pick up the screw between my thumb and forefinger. It is very small. Smaller than a grain of rice. Though rice grains vary in size. This screw is approximately the same size as a short grain of rice. A grain of arboreal rice, perhaps. Not basmati. Basmati is too long. I position the screw above the pillar. The pillar has a hole running through its center. Top to bottom. This is where the screw will go. The screw will pass through the pillar and thread into the main plate below. This is how the pillar will be fastened. This is how it has always been done. I must use the screwdriver now. The screwdriver is on the bench. To my left. Just beyond the oil lamp. I set down the screw. Carefully. It must not roll. I reach for the screwdriver. The screwdriver handle is made of boxwood. Yellow boxwood. Very dense. Very hard. The handle is turned on a lathe. Smooth. Rounded. It fits in the palm perfectly. Master made this screwdriver 17 years ago. He told me this on my first day. 17 years. The screwdriver is older than I am. I am 16 years old. The screwdriver has been turning screws since before I was born. The blade of the screwdriver is steel. Tempered steel. Very thin. The tip is flat. It must fit into the slot on the screw head. If the tip is too wide, it will not fit. If the tip is too narrow, it will slip. Master grinds the tip once each month. On the first Monday. The same day he oils the drawer slides. I hold the screwdriver in my right hand. My fingers wrap around the handle. Thumb on top. 3 fingers beneath. My index finger extended along the shaft. Master says this gives better control. The index finger guides. The other fingers provide force. Now I must pick up the screw again. With my left hand. The screw is where I placed it. On the leather mat. I grasp it between thumb and forefinger. I lift it. I position it above the pillar. The pillar I am still holding. No, I am not holding the pillar. I set it down. I was holding it before. Now it simply stands on the main plate. I remember now. I lower the screw into the hole at the top of the pillar. The screw descends. Slowly. I can feel it enter the hole. There is a moment, just a moment, when the screw catches the threads below. Inside the main plate. This is a delicate moment. If the screw is crooked, even slightly crooked, it will cross-thread. The threads will be damaged. The screw will be ruined. The hole will be ruined. Everything will be ruined. I feel the threads engage. The screw is straight. I am certain it is straight. Or nearly certain. I place the screwdriver tip into the slot on the screw head. The fit is perfect. The tip fills the slot completely. No gaps. No play. This is correct. I begin to turn the screwdriver. Clockwise. Always clockwise for tightening. Counterclockwise for loosening. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This is what my father used to say. He was not a watchmaker. He was a clerk. But he knew about screws. 1/4 turn. The screw descends into the pillar. I can feel the resistance. The good resistance of threads engaging properly. 2/4 turns. That is 1/2 turn. 3/4 turns. 4/4 turns. That is 1 complete rotation. I continue turning. The second rotation. 1/4 turn. Another 1/4 turn. Another. Another. 2 complete rotations now. The screw is descending. The pillar is being drawn down toward the main plate. I can see the gap closing. There was a gap. Now there is less gap. A very soft creaking. The sound of metal compressing. Third rotation. The gap is almost closed. Fourth rotation. The bottom of the pillar touches the main plate. Brass touching brass. I can feel it through the screwdriver. A subtle change in resistance. The screw is no longer simply threading. It is now pulling. Drawing the pillar tight against the plate. I give 1 more 1/4 turn. The pillar is seated. Firm. Secure. I remove the screwdriver. I examine my work. The pillar stands perpendicular to the main plate. I take a small square from the tool rack. The square is made of steel. It has 2 edges that meet at precisely 90 degrees. 90 degrees is a right angle. The angle we need. I place one edge of the square against the main plate. The other edge should align with the pillar. If the pillar is truly perpendicular, the square will touch the pillar along its entire length. I look closely. The square touches the pillar. Top to bottom. The pillar is perpendicular. This is good. I set down the square. Now I must install the second pillar. The process will be the same. Exactly the same. This is the nature of assembly. Repetition. The same motion performed again and again. Master says this is meditative. He says the repetition empties the mind. Allows the hands to work without interference from thought. I am not certain my mind is ever empty. But perhaps it will be. After 1,000 repetitions. I take the second pillar. I position it over the second screw hole. The hole I cleaned earlier with the thread chaser. I set the pillar down. It stands on its own. Vertical. As the first pillar stands. Now the second screw. I pick it up. The one with 16 threads. They all have 16 threads. I have already confirmed this. I lower the screw into the pillar hole. I feel for the threads. There, they engage. The screwdriver tip enters the slot. I begin to turn. Clockwise. 1/4 turn. 2/4 turns. 3. 4. 1 complete rotation. The screw descends. I continue turning. Second rotation. The gap between pillar and main plate begins to close. Third rotation. The gap is nearly gone. Fourth rotation. The pillar seats against the main plate. 1 more quarter turn. The pillar is secure. I remove the screwdriver. I check with the square. The pillar is perpendicular. As it should be. 2 pillars now stand on the main plate. 2 remain. The lamp flame steadies. I take the third pillar. This pillar is identical to the first and second pillars. 7/8 of an inch in length. Brass. Threaded at both ends. I have measured it. I have examined it. I know this pillar as I know the others. Which is to say, I know it only as a type. Not as an individual. The pillars have no individuality. They are interchangeable. This is important in watchmaking. Parts must be interchangeable. If a part breaks, another can replace it. The watch continues. The watch does not care which pillar is which. I position the third pillar over the third hole. I set it down. It stands. I retrieve the third screw. 16 threads. I lower it into the pillar. The threads engage. The screwdriver tip enters the slot. I turn. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. The pillar seats. 1/4 turn more. The pillar is secure. I check with the square. Perpendicular. Always perpendicular. 3 pillars now. 1 remains. The fourth pillar. The pillar with the scratch. I have been thinking about this pillar. The scratch troubles me slightly. Not because it affects the function. Master has confirmed it does not. But because I will always know it is there. Years from now, if I see this watch, I will remember. The fourth pillar has a scratch. 1/32 of an inch long. Or shorter. On the upper portion of the shaft. Barely visible. But there. I pick up the fourth pillar. I can see the scratch. Even in lamplight. It catches the light differently than the smooth brass around it. A tiny imperfection in an otherwise perfect surface. I wonder what caused it. Perhaps another tool touched it during storage. Perhaps it was always there. Perhaps it came from the mill in Lancashire already scratched. A small defect that went unnoticed. Or noticed but deemed acceptable. I position the fourth pillar over the fourth hole. The last hole. I set it down. It stands as the others stand. Vertical. Unaware of its imperfection. Or perhaps aware. Perhaps the pillar knows it is scratched. Perhaps it bears this knowledge as I bear the knowledge of my own imperfections. My too-thin wrist. My slightly crooked left incisor. Things that cannot be changed. Things that must simply be accepted. I take the fourth screw. The last screw for this phase of assembly. 16 threads. I lower it into the pillar. The threads engage. They do not care about the scratch either. Threads care only about other threads. About the proper angle of engagement. About the coefficient of friction between brass and brass. The screwdriver tip enters the slot. I turn. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. The scratched pillar seats against the main plate. Just as the unscratched pillars seated. The same contact. The same pressure. 1/4 turn more. The fourth pillar is secure. I check with the square. Perpendicular. All 4 pillars now stand on the main plate. I lean back slightly. I look at what I have accomplished. 4 brass pillars. Each 7/8 of an inch tall. each perpendicular to the main plate, each secured with a screw of 16 threads. This is the foundation. This is what everything else will build upon. Master walks by. I hear his footsteps. He does not stop. Does not speak. This means the work is acceptable. If the work were not acceptable, he would stop. He would point out the error. He would ask me to undo the work and begin again. His silence is approval. I have learned to read his silences. Now I must retrieve the barrel bridge. The barrel bridge is the next component. It is stored in the 11th drawer of the parts cabinet. The 11th drawer is 4 drawers below the 7th drawer. I stand. My legs are stiff. I have been sitting for some time. How long, I am not certain. The lamp has burned down perhaps half an inch. A candle burns at approximately 1 inch per hour. This is not a candle. But the principle is similar. Perhaps I have been working for 30 minutes. Perhaps longer. I walk to the cabinet. 3 steps. 4 steps. 5 steps. The workshop is not large. 10 feet by 12 feet. Master measured it when we first moved in. 10 feet by 12 feet. 120 square feet. This is where we work. This is where watches are born. I open the 11th drawer. Inside are larger components. The barrel bridge is in the second compartment. It is made of brass, like everything else. Like the main plate. Like the pillars. Brass is the skeleton of a watch. Steel is the muscle. Rubies are the joints. Master says this. I do not entirely understand the metaphor. But I remember it. The barrel bridge is curved. An arc of brass. It has 2 arms that will rest on top of the 4 pillars. No, not 4 pillars. 2 pillars. 2 of the 4 pillars. The first and third pillars. Or the second and fourth. I must consult the diagram. The diagram is pinned to the wall. Above the workbench. I have looked at this diagram perhaps 500 times. It shows the complete assembly of the watch. Every part. Every screw. Every jewel. Lines connect the parts. Numbers label each component. The barrel bridge is number 7. I study the diagram. The barrel bridge connects to the second and fourth pillars. Not the first and third. The second and fourth. I was incorrect in my earlier thought. This is why we have diagrams. To correct our incorrect thoughts. I carry the barrel bridge back to the workbench. 5 steps. 4 steps. 3 steps. I sit down on the stool. The stool creaks. It always creaks. Master says he will oil it. But he has not oiled it. Perhaps he likes the creak. Perhaps the creak serves a purpose I do not understand. There are many things I do not understand. The barrel bridge rests now on the leather mat. Beside the main plate with its 4 pillars. I examine the bridge closely. It has 2 holes. 1 at each end. These holes will fit over the second and fourth pillars. The holes are slightly larger than the pillar diameter. This is necessary. There must be clearance. If the holes were exactly the same size as the pillars, the bridge could not fit. Or it would fit too tightly. There must always be appropriate clearance. I pick up the calipers. I measure the first hole in the barrel bridge. The diameter is 1/8 of an inch. I measure it again. 1/8 of an inch. This is correct. The pillars are 7/8 of an inch tall, not 7/8 of an inch in diameter. I have confused the measurements. The pillar diameter is much smaller. Perhaps 1/16 of an inch. Or smaller. I should measure it. I position the calipers around the second pillar. The one the barrel bridge will fit over. I close the jaws carefully. The measurement reads 3/32 of an inch. The pillar is 3/32 of an inch in diameter. The hole in the barrel bridge is 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is 4/32 of an inch. The difference is 1/32 of an inch. This is the clearance. This is appropriate clearance. I set down the calipers. I lift the barrel bridge. I position it above the main plate, above the second and fourth pillars. I lower it slowly. The holes must align with the pillars. If I lower it incorrectly, the bridge will not fit. I will have to lift it and try again. The first hole approaches the fourth pillar. Closer. Closer. The pillar enters the hole. It fits. There is clearance, as I calculated. The bridge descends further. Now the second hole approaches the second pillar. Closer. The pillar enters this hole as well. The barrel bridge settles onto the tops of the four pillars. It rests there. Suspended. Parallel to the main plate. I can see the gap between them. The space where the mechanism will live. Where the gears will turn. Where time will be measured. But we are not to the gears yet. We are still with the bridge. I must secure the bridge to the pillars. There are screws for this purpose. Different screws than the pillar screws. These screws are shorter. Master told me they are 5/32 of an inch in length. The pillar screws were 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch is 6/32 of an inch. So these screws are 1/32 of an inch shorter than the pillar screws. The lamp flame dances briefly. The bridge screws are kept in the 7th drawer. The same drawer as the pillar screws, but in a different compartment. The 6th compartment. I remember this because 6 is one more than 5. The pillar screws were in the 5th compartment. The bridge screws are in the 6th compartment. This pattern helps me remember. I open the 7th drawer. The familiar smooth slide. I reach into the 6th compartment. The screws are there. Waiting. They have been waiting in this drawer for days. Perhaps weeks. Perhaps months. Time moves differently for screws. They do not age. They do not corrode, if kept dry. They simply wait. Patient. Eternal. I select the first screw. I hold it up to the lamplight. It is smaller than the pillar screws. Noticeably smaller. I count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 threads. 4 fewer than the pillar screws. This makes sense. The screw is shorter. Fewer threads fit in a shorter space. I set the first screw on the leather mat. I select the second screw. I count its threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 threads. As expected. I place it beside the first screw. Now I need only 2 more screws. The barrel bridge requires 4 screws total. 2 for the second pillar. 2 for the fourth pillar. Or perhaps 1 screw per pillar. I must consult the diagram again. I look at the diagram. The drawing shows 1 screw at each end of the barrel bridge. 1 screw where the bridge meets the second pillar. 1 screw where the bridge meets the fourth pillar. 2 screws total. Now 4. I have selected too many screws. I have made an error. A slight sound of screws being picked up. I pick up the 3rd and 4th screws. I return them to the 6th compartment. They rest again with their companions. Waiting. I close the 7th drawer. Now only 2 screws remain on the leather mat. This is correct. 2 screws for 2 attachment points. I take the screwdriver. The same screwdriver I used for the pillar screws. The boxwood handle. The tempered steel blade. 17 years old. Older than I am. The screwdriver has fastened thousands of screws. Perhaps tens of thousands. Each screw a small act of joining. Of bringing separate parts together. Of creating unity from multiplicity. The barrel bridge has threaded holes where the screws will enter. I cannot see these holes from above. The bridge covers them. But I know they are there. I examine the bridge before placing it on the pillars. Each end of the bridge has a hole. The hole goes through the brass, down through the curved arm of the bridge. The screw will pass through this hole and thread into the top of the pillar below. I pick up the first screw. I position it above the left end of the barrel bridge, the end that rests on the second pillar. I must find the hole. I cannot see it clearly. I must feel for it. I lower the screw. I search with the tip. There, I feel the edge of the hole. The screw tip drops slightly. It has entered the hole. Now I must thread it into the pillar below. This is delicate. The screw must pass through the bridge hole and engage the threads in the pillar top. If the angle is wrong, the screw will not catch. It will spin uselessly. Or worse, it will cross-thread. Damage the pillar. Master says cross-threading is a sin against the watch. The watch cannot forgive. It can only break. I place the screwdriver tip into the screw slot. I apply the gentlest pressure downward. I begin to turn. Clockwise. Slowly. I feel for the threads. The screw turns freely. Once. Twice. 3 times. Still no engagement. Perhaps the alignment is incorrect. I withdraw the screw slightly. I adjust the angle. Minutely. Almost imperceptibly. I try again. I turn. Once. Twice. There, I feel it. The slightest resistance. The threads have caught. The screw is engaging the pillar below. I continue turning. The resistance increases. This is good resistance. The screw is threading properly. 1 full rotation. 2 full rotations. 3 full rotations. 4 full rotations. The screw descends through the bridge, drawing the bridge down, securing it to the pillar. 5 full rotations. The bridge is firmly seated against the pillar top. I give 1 more quarter turn. The screw is tight. Not too tight. Master says over-tightening is as bad as under-tightening. Too tight and the threads strip. The brass yields. The screw becomes permanent. Immovable. Later, if we must disassemble the watch, we cannot. The screw will not release. It will break before it turns. I remove the screwdriver. I examine the first attachment point. The bridge meets the pillar cleanly. No gap. No cant. The brass surfaces touch fully. This is correct. Now the second screw. The one that will secure the right end of the barrel bridge. The end resting on the 4th pillar. The pillar with the scratch. I wonder if the scratch will affect the screw's threading. Probably not. The scratch is on the outside of the pillar. The threads are inside. At the top. Where the screw will go. I pick up the second screw. 12 threads. I counted them earlier. I position it above the right end of the barrel bridge. I search for the hole. My fingers remember the motion now. Lower the screw. Feel for the edge. There, the screw drops into the hole. Screwdriver tip into the slot. Apply gentle downward pressure. Turn. Clockwise. Once. Twice. 3 times. 4 times. The threads catch. I feel the resistance. The good resistance. The screw engages the scratched pillar's threads. The scratch makes no difference. The threads do not know about the scratch. They only know about other threads. 1 full rotation. 2 full rotations. 3 full rotations. 4 full rotations. 5 full rotations. The bridge seats against the pillar top. 1 more quarter turn. The screw is secure. The barrel bridge is now fastened to the main plate. Via the 2nd and 4th pillars. The structure is becoming more complex. More rigid. Before, the pillars could theoretically be removed. Now they cannot. Not without first removing the barrel bridge. The watch is developing dependencies. Part upon part. Each relying on others. This is how watches work. This is how everything works. I set down the screwdriver. I look at the assembly. The main plate. The 4 pillars. The barrel bridge. 7 components total. The main plate is 1 component. The 4 pillars are 4 components. The barrel bridge is 1 component. The 6 screws, 4 pillar screws and 2 bridge screws, are 6 more components. 13 components total, if we count screws. Master does not usually count screws separately. He counts them as part of the assemblies they join. So 7 components. We are 7 components into a 137 component watch. 7 is approximately 5% of 137. I calculate this in my head. 7 divided by 137. The division is difficult. Not even. I estimate. Perhaps 5%. Perhaps slightly more. We have completed 5% of the watch. Or less. We have been working for perhaps an hour. If 5% requires 1 hour, then 100% will require 20 hours. But this cannot be right. Some components take longer than others. The balance wheel, for instance. The balance wheel is very complex. It will take many hours. The dial, by contrast, is simple. It will take minutes. Time is not linear in watchmaking. This is something I am learning. Now I must retrieve the barrel. The barrel is where the mainspring will live. The mainspring is the heart of the watch. The source of power. But we are not to the mainspring yet. First, the barrel. The barrel is stored in the 14th drawer. I open it. The drawer is deeper than the others. It contains larger components. The barrel is in the first compartment. I see it immediately. It is cylindrical. Brass. Hollow. Like a small cup with a lid. Except the lid is not attached. The lid is separate. Also in the first compartment. I remove the barrel. It is heavier than I expected. Denser. I hold it up to the light. I can see through it. Through the hollow center. The inside walls are very smooth. Polished. They must be smooth for the mainspring to wind properly. Any roughness would cause friction. Friction causes wear. Wear causes failure. I set the barrel on the leather mat. Now I remove the barrel lid. It is smaller than the barrel. A disc of brass. It will fit inside the barrel's top opening. Covering the mainspring. Protecting it. Containing it. I examine the barrel lid. It has a small arbor protruding from its center. The arbor is perhaps 1/4 inch in length. Very thin. This arbor will fit through the center of the mainspring. When the mainspring winds, it will wind around this arbor. The arbor is the axis. Everything rotates around an axis. The earth rotates around an axis. The watch rotates around many axes. Small cosmologies. Universes in brass. The barrel has a similar arbor. On its bottom. I turn the barrel over to examine it. Yes, there is the arbor. Identical to the one on the lid. The mainspring will attach to this arbor. When the watch is wound, this arbor rotates. The mainspring coils tighter. Energy is stored. Later, as the mainspring unwinds, the energy is released. Slowly. Precisely. This is how watches measure time. By releasing energy at a controlled rate. Master says time is not a thing. Time is a measurement of change. The watch does not contain time. The watch contains a mechanism that changes at a steady rate. We observe the change. We call it time. I do not fully understand this. But I remember it. Before I can install the barrel, I must clean it. Even though it appears clean. even though it has been stored in a closed drawer. Dust is everywhere. Invisible dust. Microscopic particles floating in the air. Landing on surfaces. Infiltrating mechanisms. Dust is the enemy of watches. Dust causes friction. Friction causes wear. We have already established this. I take the linen cloth. The same cloth I have been using. It is quite dirty now. Covered in brass filings. Small smudges of oil. I should get a clean cloth. But this cloth will suffice for now. The barrel is not yet a critical component. It will be cleaned again later. Before final assembly. I wipe the exterior of the barrel. Circular motions. Following the curve. The cloth moves over the brass. I can feel the smoothness of the polished surface. So smooth. Almost frictionless. Almost. Now the interior. I fold the cloth. I insert it into the barrel opening. I twist the cloth. The inside walls must be perfectly clean. Perfectly smooth. I rotate the barrel while holding the cloth inside. The cloth touches every part of the interior surface. Around and around. How many rotations? I lose count. Perhaps 10. Perhaps 15. It does not matter. I continue until I am satisfied. I remove the cloth. I hold the barrel up to the lamplight. I look through it. Through the hollow center. I can see the lamp flame. Distorted. Wavering. The interior walls gleam. Clean. Ready. Now the barrel lid. I wipe it with the cloth. Both sides. The exterior side. The interior side. The arbor. I am careful around the arbor. It is delicate. If it bends, even slightly, the mainspring will not fit properly. The watch will not function. Everything must be straight. Perpendicular. Parallel. True. The barrel and lid are clean. Now I must install the barrel onto the main plate. Between the pillars. The barrel will rest on the main plate. Inside the space created by the 4 pillars and the barrel bridge above. This is where it belongs. I have seen the diagram. I know the position. I pick up the barrel. I hold it above the main plate. I lower it slowly. I must position it correctly. Not too close to any one pillar. Centered. Equidistant from all 4 pillars. This is important for balance. The watch must be balanced. We have established this as well. The barrel descends. I watch carefully. I adjust its position. Slightly to the left. No, too far. Slightly to the right. Yes. That appears centered. I lower it further. The barrel makes contact with the main plate. It sits flat. Stable. I lean back. I examine the positioning. The barrel sits in the center of the 4 pillars. Approximately equidistant from each. I should measure this. To be certain. But the calipers are difficult to use in this configuration. The pillars are in the way. I will trust my eye. For now. The barrel is in position. But it is not yet secured. It must be fastened to the main plate. There is a screw for this. A central screw. The screw will pass through the bottom of the barrel. Through the arbor at the barrel's base. And thread into the main plate below. This will hold the barrel in place. Prevent it from shifting. From rotating independently. The barrel screw is in the 7th drawer. A different compartment. The 8th compartment. I have not retrieved screws from this compartment before. This is a new screw. A special screw. Longer than the others. Master says it is 1/4 inch in length. 16/32. 1/4 is 8/16. 8/16 is 16/32. The mathematics are consistent. I locate the screw in the 8th compartment. There are several identical screws. I select one. I hold it to the light. I count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 threads. More than any screw I have used today. 20 threads spiraling down the shaft. Each thread cut perfectly. Each thread at the same pitch as the others. This screw has a different head than the other screws. The head is rounded. Domed. It protrudes more. This is intentional. The rounded head will sit in a corresponding rounded recess in the barrel bottom. This prevents the screw from working loose. The dome fits the recess. Mechanical mating. Male and female. Convex and concave. This is how things are joined. I carry the screw back to the workbench. I must turn the barrel over to access the screw hole. But the barrel is already positioned on the main plate. If I lift it, I will lose the positioning. I will have to center it again. Perhaps I should have inserted the screw before placing the barrel on the main plate. Yes. That would have been more efficient. But I did not think of this. I am learning. Through errors. Through inefficiency. This is how apprentices learn. A slight sound of frustration, but quickly suppressed. I lift the barrel. Carefully. I turn it over. The arbor points upward now. I can see the screw hole in the center of the arbor. A dark opening. Small. Precise. I position the screw above this hole. I lower the screw. The tip enters the hole. But the screw does not thread into anything yet. The barrel is not on the main plate. The screw passes through the barrel but has nothing to engage below. I must hold the screw in place while I turn the barrel back over. While I position the barrel back on the main plate. This requires both hands. But I only have 2 hands. One hand must hold the barrel. One hand must hold the screw. There is no hand remaining to position the barrel accurately. I consider the problem. 2 hands. 3 tasks. Hold the barrel. Hold the screw. Position the barrel. This is impossible with only 2 hands. Unless I change the sequence. Unless I think differently. Perhaps I can use the screw to hold itself. If I thread the screw partially into the barrel, just a few threads, it will stay in place. Then I can use both hands to position the barrel on the main plate. Then I can use the screwdriver to finish threading the screw. This might work. I hold the barrel in my left hand. Upside down. The arbor points upward. I hold the screw in my right hand. I position the screw above the arbor hole. I lower the screw into the hole. I begin to turn the screw. Clockwise. With just my fingers. No screwdriver. The screw turns. I feel the threads engage the barrel's internal threads. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. The screw descends into the arbor. But it does not emerge from the bottom yet. The screw is 1/4 inch long. The arbor is perhaps 3/16 of an inch thick. The screw has not yet passed through. I continue turning. 4 rotations. 5 rotations. There, I see the tip of the screw emerging from the bottom of the arbor. 6 rotations. 7 rotations. The screw protrudes perhaps 1/16 of an inch from the barrel bottom. This should be sufficient. The screw is partially threaded. It will stay in place. I release the screw. It remains. Held by 7 rotations of thread engagement. Good. A satisfied breath. Now I turn the barrel right side up. The screw points downward. Protruding from the bottom. I hold the barrel with both hands now. Positioning it above the main plate. I must find the screw hole in the main plate. The hole where the screw will thread. The hole is there. Somewhere. Among the other holes. The holes for the pillars. But this hole is different. Smaller, perhaps. Or in a different location. I consult the diagram on the wall. I study it carefully. The barrel sits in the center of the 4 pillars. The screw hole is directly beneath the barrel center. Directly below the barrel arbor. This makes sense. The screw goes straight down. Through the barrel arbor. Into the main plate. A vertical path. I lower the barrel slowly. I watch the screw tip. It approaches the main plate. I must align it with the hole. I move the barrel slightly. Searching. The screw tip touches the main plate surface. It has not found the hole. I lift the barrel slightly. I shift it to the left. I lower it again. The screw touches brass. Still not the hole. I lift. I shift to the right. I lower. There, the screw tip drops slightly. It has found the hole. I feel the alignment is correct and lower the barrel further. The screw descends into the main plate hole. The barrel comes to rest on the main plate surface. Flat. Centered. The screw has guided it to the correct position. But the screw is not yet fully threaded. It is only 7 rotations into the barrel. It needs many more rotations to pass through the barrel and thread fully into the main plate. I need the screwdriver. I reach for the screwdriver. The boxwood handle. Familiar now. I have held this handle many times today. The wood is slightly warm. Warmed by my hand. Or perhaps it is my hand that is slightly warm. Warmed by the wood. It is difficult to say. Heat transfers. From warmer to cooler. Until equilibrium is reached. This is thermodynamics. Master explained this once. Everything seeks equilibrium. Temperature. Pressure. Even people. We all seek balance. I must access the screw head. But the screw head is inside the barrel. At the bottom of the barrel arbor. I cannot see it from above. I must work by feel. I insert the screwdriver into the barrel opening. Down through the hollow center. The blade descends. Searching for the screw slot. The blade touches something. Metal on metal. I adjust the angle. I feel for the slot. The blade slides across the screw head. Smooth brass. I search for the slot. There, the blade catches. It has found the slot. It drops into the slot. I feel the fit. The blade is seated. I begin to turn. Clockwise. The screw rotates inside the barrel. I cannot see it. I can only feel it. Through the screwdriver. Through the boxwood handle. Through my palm. Through my nerves. The sensation travels from the screw to my brain. This is how I know the screw is turning. This is how I know anything. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. The screw is threading through the barrel. Threading into the main plate below. I count the rotations. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. The resistance increases slightly. The screw is engaging more threads in the main plate. Good resistance. Proper resistance. 11 rotations. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. The screw had 20 threads. I counted them earlier. 20 rotations should fully engage all 20 threads. But I must account for the 7 rotations I made with my fingers. Before using the screwdriver. 7 plus 20 is 27. But that cannot be right. The screw only has 20 threads total. A pause. Recalculation. I must reconsider. I threaded the screw 7 rotations into the barrel. Those 7 rotations engaged the barrel's threads. not the main plate's threads. Then I position the barrel on the main plate. Now I am threading the screw into the main plate. These are additional rotations, beyond the first 7. So the total rotations will be 7 into the barrel plus however many into the main plate. The screw is 1/4 inch long. The barrel arbor is perhaps 3/16 inch thick. 1/4 minus 3/16. I must find a common denominator. 1/4 is 4/16. 4/16 minus 3/16 is 1/16. The screw protrudes 1/16 inch beyond the barrel bottom. This 1/16 inch will thread into the main plate. 20 threads in 1/4 inch. That is 80 threads per inch. 1/16 inch would contain 5 threads. 80 divided by 16 is 5. 5 threads will engage the main plate. 5 rotations should secure the barrel to the main plate. Continuing to turn. More slowly now. I have already completed 20 rotations with the screwdriver. That is more than 5. The screw should be fully seated. I test this by feeling the resistance. Yes, there is firm resistance. The screw has reached its limit. The barrel is secured to the main plate. I give one final small turn, just to be certain. The resistance is solid, immovable. The barrel is fastened. I withdraw the screwdriver. I set it aside. I examine the barrel. It sits on the main plate, surrounded by the 4 pillars. Under the barrel bridge. Everything is in position. Everything is secured. This is progress. Measurable progress. A longer pause. The sound of the stool creaking as weight shifts. Now I must install the barrel lid. The lid that will cover the barrel. The lid with the arbor protruding from its center. But first, I must install the mainspring. The mainspring goes inside the barrel. Then the lid covers it. This is the sequence. Barrel, mainspring, lid. Not barrel, lid, mainspring. The mainspring must be inside before the lid can cover it. This is obvious. Yet I nearly forgot the sequence. This is what happens when one works slowly, carefully. The mind wanders. The obvious becomes obscured. The mainspring is stored in the 15th drawer. I stand. My legs are stiff again. I have been sitting for a long time. How long? The lamp has burned down perhaps another ½ inch. Perhaps I have been working for 90 minutes total. Perhaps 2 hours. Time is difficult to track when one is focused on small things. On threads. On rotations. On 1/16 inch measurements. Footsteps. 5 steps to the cabinet. I open the 15th drawer. It is a shallow drawer. Inside are mainsprings. Coiled springs of tempered steel. Each spring is wound into a tight spiral. Potential energy. Waiting to be released. The springs are organized by size. The spring I need is in the 3rd compartment. I reach for the spring. Then I hesitate. I should not touch the spring with my bare fingers. Oil from my skin will transfer to the steel. The oil will attract dust. Dust will cause friction. We have established this. I need cloth gloves. Or at least the linen cloth. I retrieve the linen cloth from the workbench. The same cloth I have been using all day. It is quite dirty now. But it will protect the spring from my skin oils. I wrap the cloth around my right hand. Like a bandage. Like the bandage I wore when I cut my thumb on a file edge last month. The cut has healed now. Only a small scar remains. Cloth being wrapped. Soft fabric sounds. With my cloth-wrapped hand, I reach into the 3rd compartment. I grasp the mainspring. It is small. Perhaps 1 inch in diameter in its coiled state. But if unwound, it would be much longer. Perhaps 12 inches. Perhaps 15. I have never unwound a mainspring completely. Master says this is dangerous. The spring can snap. Cut flesh. Blind an eye. Mainsprings must be respected. They contain violence. Controlled violence. But violence nonetheless. I carry the mainspring back to the workbench. 5 steps. 4 steps. 3 steps. I sit. The stool creaks. I set the mainspring on the leather mat. I unwrap the cloth from my hand. I examine the spring. The spring being observed. Silence. The spring is beautiful in its way. The steel has a blue tint. Blued steel. Heated and cooled in a specific way to create this color. The color is not decorative. It indicates proper tempering. Proper hardness. Too hard and the spring is brittle. It will snap. Too soft and the spring will not return to its shape. It will deform. Lose its springiness. The blue color tells us the tempering is correct. The spring will last for years. Decades. Perhaps a century. Longer than the man who made it. Longer than the man who installs it. Longer than the man who winds it each day. The mainspring has 2 ends. An inner end and an outer end. The inner end has a small hole. This hole will hook onto the barrel arbor. The arbor inside the barrel. When the watch is wound, the arbor rotates. The spring winds tighter. The outer end of the spring will hook onto the inside of the barrel wall. There is a small post inside the barrel for this purpose. I have seen this post. It is very small. Easy to miss. But it is there. A breath. Preparation for the next delicate task. Installing a mainspring is difficult. The spring wants to unwind. It has tension. Even in its coiled state. If I release it carelessly, it will spring open. Uncoil rapidly. This is the violence I mentioned. The controlled violence. I must control it. I must be smarter than a spring. This should not be difficult. I am human. The spring is metal. But sometimes the spring seems to have intention. Seems to resist. Seems to want to escape. Master has a tool for installing mainsprings. A mainspring winder. It is kept on the tool rack. I stand again. My legs protest. They do not enjoy standing and sitting repeatedly. They would prefer I choose one position and maintain it. But watchmaking requires movement. Retrieval. Return. It is not a sedentary craft. Not truly. I walk to the tool rack. The mainspring winder hangs on the 3rd hook. It is a curious tool. 2 wooden handles connected by a metal frame. In the center of the frame is a cylindrical chamber. The mainspring goes into this chamber. The handles are turned. This winds the spring tighter. Compresses it. Once compressed, the spring can be inserted into the barrel. Then the tool is released. The spring expands to fill the barrel. Controlled expansion. Safe expansion. The tool being removed from the hook. Metal and wood. I carry the mainspring winder back to the workbench. I sit. The stool creaks. I am beginning to hate this creak. But not strongly. Hate is too strong a word. I am beginning to dislike this creak. That is more accurate. I place the mainspring winder on the leather mat. I examine it. The cylindrical chamber is open. A slot runs along its length. This is where the spring will enter. I must insert the spring into this slot. Feed it into the chamber. This requires both hands. And patience. Mostly patience. The spring being picked up with the cloth. I pick up the mainspring again. With the cloth protecting my fingers. I position the outer end of the spring at the chamber slot. I begin to feed the spring in. Slowly. The spring resists. It wants to maintain its current diameter. It does not want to enter the smaller chamber. But I persist. I push gently. The spring begins to enter. A little at a time. 1 inch of spring is inside the chamber. 2 inches. 3 inches. I continue feeding. The spring coils inside the chamber. Getting tighter. I can feel the resistance increasing. 4 inches. 5 inches. The spring is fighting harder now. But I am patient. Patience overcomes resistance. This is something Master says. Patience overcomes everything. Eventually. Steady feeding sounds. Metal sliding into metal. 6 inches. 7 inches. 8 inches. The spring is more than halfway into the chamber now. 9 inches. 10 inches. The resistance is strong. My fingers ache slightly. From pushing. From maintaining pressure. But I continue. 11 inches. 12 inches. The entire spring is now inside the chamber. Compressed. Contained. The violence is controlled. I have won. Or the tool has won. I was merely the mediator. The operator. The tool did the actual work. A satisfied exhalation. Now I must carry the winder to the barrel. The winder contains the spring. I must position the winder over the barrel opening. Then I will release the spring into the barrel. But first, I must connect the inner end of the spring to the barrel arbor. The small hole in the spring's inner end must hook onto the arbor. This is delicate work. I pick up the entire assembly. The main plate with its pillars and barrel. It is becoming heavy. More components mean more weight. More mass. I hold it carefully. I do not want to drop it. Dropping would be catastrophic. Hours of work would be undone. Screws would loosen. Parts would separate. The watch would scatter across the floor. I grip firmly. But not too firmly. Firmly enough. I position the assembly so I can see into the barrel. The barrel arbor rises from the barrel floor. A small post. Perhaps 1/8 inch tall. At the top of this post is a tiny notch. This is where the spring's inner end will hook. I hold the assembly steady. The main plate. The pillars. The barrel. The barrel bridge above. All of it rests in my left hand. My right hand is free. I will need my right hand for the delicate work ahead. The work of connecting spring to arbor. The main spring winder sits on the leather mat. The spring coiled inside. Compressed. Waiting. I must position the winder over the barrel opening. But I cannot do this while holding the assembly. I need both hands. Again, this problem of insufficient hands. 2 hands. Multiple tasks. This is the eternal struggle of the apprentice. Or perhaps of all craftsmen. Perhaps of all humans. We always need one more hand than we possess. I set down the assembly. Carefully. On the leather mat. The main plate rests flat. Stable. The barrel points upward. Its opening exposed. Accessible. This is better. A soft settling sound. Brass on leather. Now I take the mainspring winder. I lift it with both hands. It is heavier than I expected. The compressed spring adds weight. Or perhaps it is the density of potential energy. Energy has mass. Einstein proved this. Master mentioned it once. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. I do not fully understand this equation. But I remember it. E equals mc squared. The letters comfort me even without comprehension. I position the winder above the barrel opening. The winder's chamber aligns with the barrel. I must look inside the chamber to see the spring's inner end. The end with the small hole. The end that must hook onto the arbor. I tilt the winder slightly. I peer into the chamber slot. There, I can see the innermost coil of the spring. The blue steel catches the lamplight. I can see the hole. A tiny hole. Perhaps 1/32 of an inch in diameter. Perhaps smaller. This hole must engage the arbor notch. The notch I mentioned earlier. The notch at the top of the barrel arbor. Breathing. Slow. Focused. I lower the winder. The chamber approaches the barrel opening. I must align the spring's inner hole with the arbor notch. This requires precision. If the alignment is incorrect, the spring will not hook. It will simply rest loosely in the barrel. When the watch is wound, the spring will not wind. It will slip. The watch will not function. All this work will have been for nothing. I look into the barrel. I see the arbor. The small brass post rising from the barrel floor. At its top, the notch. A tiny cut in the brass. Perhaps 1/64 of an inch wide. Perhaps smaller. I cannot measure something so small. I can only observe. Estimate. Trust. The mainspring winder chamber is now directly above the barrel opening. I begin to lower it. Slowly. Watching through the chamber slot. Watching the spring's inner end. Watching the arbor. The two must meet. Must engage. Must connect. Metal descending. A faint hiss of steel on brass. The spring's inner end touches the arbor top. I feel contact through the winder handles. A subtle vibration. The spring is touching brass. But is the hole aligned with the notch? I cannot tell. Not yet. I must test. I hold the winder steady with my left hand. With my right hand, I attempt to rotate the winder slightly. Just a small rotation. If the spring is hooked onto the arbor, the winder will not rotate. The spring will be anchored. But if the spring is not hooked, the winder will rotate freely. The spring will slip around the arbor. This is the test. I apply gentle rotational pressure. The winder rotates. The spring slips. It is not hooked. The alignment was incorrect. A small sound of disappointment. Quickly suppressed. I lift the winder slightly. I adjust the position. Perhaps 1/32 of an inch to the left. I lower it again. The spring's inner end contacts the arbor. I test rotation. The winder rotates. Still not hooked. I lift. I adjust. This time to the right. I lower. Contact. Test. Rotation. Not hooked. I lift. I adjust. Forward now. Toward me. Lower. Contact. Test. The winder does not rotate. Or it rotates only slightly. Perhaps the spring is hooked. Perhaps not. The resistance is ambiguous. I lift and try again. Repetitive lifting and lowering. A meditative rhythm. Lift. Adjust. Lower. Contact. Test. Not hooked. Do it again. This is the nature of precision work. Trial. Error. Adjustment. Repetition. Master says a watchmaker must have patience equal to the patience of time itself. Time does not hurry. It proceeds at its own rate. Inexorable. Unwavering. We must match this pace. Must become like time. Patient. Persistent. Inevitable. Lift. Adjust. Lower. Contact. Test. There, no rotation. The winder is fixed. The spring is hooked. The inner end has engaged the arbor notch. Finally. After how many attempts? I have lost count. Perhaps 10. Perhaps 15. It does not matter. The spring is hooked. This is what matters. A relieved exhalation. Now I must release the spring into the barrel. The winder holds the spring compressed. I must gradually release this compression. Allow the spring to expand. To fill the barrel. This must be done slowly. Controlled. If I release too quickly, the spring will jump. Will tangle. Will hook incorrectly. Patience. Always patience. The winder handles have a mechanism. A pawl and ratchet. I can turn the handles backward. This releases the compression one click at a time. Each click allows the spring to expand slightly. Master showed me this mechanism on my first day. He said to always release slowly. One click. Pause. Another click. Pause. Never rush the spring. I begin to turn the left handle. Counterclockwise. I feel resistance. Then, click. The pawl releases one tooth. The spring expands slightly. I can feel it through the winder. A slight vibration. The spring moving. Uncoiling. Just a little. I pause. I count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Master did not specify how long to pause. He simply said to pause. I have decided 5 seconds is appropriate. 5 is a good number. Not too short. Not too long. A click. Then silence. Counting. Another turn. Click. The spring expands more. I pause. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another turn. Click. Expand. Pause. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another turn. Click. Expand. Pause. Count. This rhythm becomes meditative. Click. Expand. Pause. Count. Click. Expand. Pause. Count. My mind empties. There's only the mechanism. The spring. The gradual release. Nothing else exists. Not the workshop. Not the lamp. Not Master in the next room. Not the street outside. Not the city. Not England. Not the world. Only this. Click. Expand. Pause. Count. The clicking continues. Rhythmic. Hypnotic. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many clicks? I have lost count again. Perhaps 20. Perhaps 30. The spring continues to expand. I can see it now through the barrel opening. Blue steel spiraling outward. Filling the barrel interior. The coils are looser now. More space between them. The spring is approaching its natural diameter. Its resting diameter. The diameter it prefers. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More clicks. The rhythm unwavering. The spring is nearly fully expanded now. The outer coils are touching the barrel's inner wall. I can see this. The steel against the brass. The outer end of the spring, the end that must hook onto the barrel's internal post, is visible. I must ensure this end engages properly. I must check. I stop clicking. I hold the winder steady. I peer into the barrel. I search for the internal post. The small brass post that protrudes from the barrel wall. There, I see it. Near the barrel opening. Perhaps 2 o'clock position if the barrel were clock face. The post is very small. Easily overlooked. But essential. The spring's outer end is near the post. But I cannot tell if it is hooked. The spring obscures my view. I need better light. Better angle. I tilt the assembly slightly. The lamplight enters the barrel differently. I can see better now. The spring's outer end, yes. It appears to be hooked. The end curves around the post. This is correct. This is how it should be. A moment of satisfaction. I continue releasing the winder. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The spring is fully expanded now. It fills the barrel completely. The winder is empty. Its chamber contains nothing. All the spring has transferred to the barrel. The potential energy now resides in the barrel. Waiting. Ready to power the watch. To measure time. I lift the winder away from the barrel. I set it aside on the leather mat. The winder's work is complete. For now. It will be needed again. For the next watch. And the next. And the next after that. The winder will outlive me. Will outlive master. Will serve apprentices not yet born. This is the nature of good tools. They transcend their makers. They transcend their users. They simply serve. Eternally. The winder being set down. A wooden sound. Now I must install the barrel lid. The lid that will cover the mainspring. Seal it inside the barrel. Protect it. Contain it. The lid is on the leather mat. Where I placed it earlier. I pick it up. I examine it once more. The lid is a disc of brass. Approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Perhaps slightly larger. I should measure it. But I am tired of measuring. I have measured so many things today. The pillars. The screws. The clearances. My mind is full of numbers. 3/16. 1/4. 7/8. 5/32. The numbers swim. Blend. Separate. Recombine. A pause. A sigh. The lid has the arbor protruding from its center. The arbor I mentioned before. This arbor will fit through the center of the mainspring. The spring's coils will surround it. The arbor will be the spring's axis. Its center point. Everything rotates around a center. The earth rotates around an axis. The watch rotates around many axes. Each wheel. Each pinion. Each arbor. All rotating. All turning. All measuring time through circular motion. I position the lid above the barrel opening. I must lower it carefully. The lid's arbor must pass through the mainspring center. If the arbor catches on a spring coil, the lid will not seat properly. The spring will be compressed incorrectly. The watch will not function. I lower the lid slowly. The arbor enters the barrel. It descends toward the mainspring. I watch carefully. The arbor tip touches the uppermost spring coil. The coil is in the center. Where it should be. The arbor begins to pass through. Good. No catching. No resistance. Soft metallic sliding. The lid descends further. The arbor passes through more spring coils. Deeper into the spring. Deeper into the barrel. The lid is halfway down now. 3/4 down. The lid edge approaches the barrel rim. Almost there. The lid seats on the barrel rim. Brass on brass. A complete seal. The mainspring is now enclosed. Hidden. Only the lid arbor protrudes. Rising from the lid center. This arbor will connect to the great wheel. The great wheel will connect to other wheels. The wheels will connect to the escapement. The escapement will connect to the balance. The balance will oscillate. Back and forth. Back and forth. Dividing time into equal parts. This is how a watch works. Through connections. Through relationships. Through interdependence. A longer pause. Contemplation. But we are not to the great wheel yet. First, I must secure the lid. The lid must be fastened to the barrel. There are screws for this purpose. Tiny screws. Perhaps the smallest screws in the watch. I do not look forward to working with these screws. They are difficult to handle. Difficult to hold. Difficult to thread. But they are necessary. Necessity does not care about difficulty. The lid screws are kept in the 7th drawer. Of course they are. Everything seems to be in the 7th drawer today. The drawer is becoming familiar. Like an old friend. Or an old acquaintance. Perhaps not a friend. Drawers cannot be friends. But familiar nonetheless. I stand. My legs protest again. They are very stiff now. I have been sitting for a long time. The lamp has burned down perhaps another ½ inch. Perhaps 3/4 of an inch since I last noticed. How much time is that? If a lamp burns 1 inch per hour, then 3/4 of an inch is 45 minutes. But this is not a candle. This is an oil lamp. Oil lamps burn at different rates. Depending on the wick. Depending on the oil. Depending on the draft. Time is not easy to measure without a watch. This is ironic. I am building a device to measure time. But I cannot measure the time it takes to build it. Footsteps. To the cabinet. I open the 7th drawer. I am so familiar with this drawer now. The smooth slide. The brass pull. Slightly tarnished. The compartments inside. So many compartments. The lid screws are in the 9th compartment. I remember this because 9 is 3 times 3. 3 is a good number. The Trinity. 3 pillars, no, 4 pillars. But 3/16. 3 squared is 9. The 9th compartment. I look into the 9th compartment. The screws are there. So small. Smaller than rice grains. Smaller than the other screws I have used today. These screws are perhaps 1/8 of an inch long. Perhaps shorter. The heads are nearly invisible. Just tiny slots and tiny brass dots. I select one screw. I hold it between my thumb and forefinger. I can barely feel it. It is more an idea of a screw than an actual screw. An abstraction made metal. I hold it up to the lamplight. I try to count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 threads. Or perhaps 9. The threads are so small. So close together. Counting them is like counting the hairs on a gnat's leg. Possible in theory. Difficult in practice. A small sound of frustration. I set the first screw on the leather mat. I select a second screw. I do not try to count its threads. I trust it has the same number as the first. Whatever that number was. I place it beside the first screw. The 2 screws sit on the brown leather. Almost invisible. I must be careful not to lose them. Not to breathe too heavily near them. A strong breath could blow them away. Could send them rolling. Could lose them forever in the cracks between floorboards. I need 3 more screws. The barrel lid requires 5 screws total. 5 screws around its perimeter. Evenly spaced. I consult the diagram. Yes, 5 screws. Spaced at approximately 72-degree intervals. 360 degrees divided by 5 equals 72. The mathematics are consistent. The watch obeys geometry. Geometry is truth. The only truth that does not change. I select 3 more screws. I place them with the others. 5 tiny screws on the leather mat. 5 tiny opportunities for error. 5 tiny tests of skill. Of patience. Of worthiness. Footsteps returning. The stool creaking. I sit. I look at the 5 screws. I look at the barrel lid. The lid has 5 holes around its perimeter. Each hole is threaded, ready to receive a screw. The holes are evenly spaced, 72 degrees apart. Perfect geometry. Perfect circles. Perfect divisions of perfect circles. I take the screwdriver. The faithful boxwood handle. 17 years old. How many screws has this screwdriver turned? Thousands. Tens of thousands. Perhaps hundreds of thousands. Each rotation a small prayer. Each screw a small victory. Each fastening a small act of creation. I pick up the first screw. With my fingertips. Barely. The screw is so small. So light. It weighs almost nothing. A fraction of a gram. Less than a feather. Less than a thought. The tiny screw being held. Almost invisible. I hold the first screw between my thumb and forefinger. I can barely feel it. My fingertips are calloused from work. From handling tools. From pressing metal against metal. The calluses diminish sensation. This is unfortunate when working with very small screws. I must trust pressure more than feeling. Must trust my eyes more than my fingers. I position the screw above the first hole in the barrel lid. The hole at 12 o'clock position. If the lid were a clock face. Which it is not. But the metaphor helps. 12 o'clock. The top. Where clocks begin. Where hours begin. Where everything begins. I lower the screw toward the hole. The screw is so small. The hole is so small. Bringing them together is like threading a needle. No, smaller than threading a needle. Like threading a needle with another needle. Both needles invisible. A pause. Careful alignment. The screw tip touches the barrel lid surface. I have missed the hole. I adjust. Left. No. Right. Down slightly. There, I feel the screw tip drop. It has entered the hole. The alignment is correct. Now I must hold the screw in place while I bring the screwdriver. But if I release the screw to pick up the screwdriver, the screw will fall. It is not threaded yet. It is simply resting in the hole. Gravity does not care about precision. Gravity pulls everything down. Especially tiny screws. I must hold the screw with my left hand. And hold the assembly with my left hand. And pick up the screwdriver with my right hand. And guide the screwdriver with my right hand. This is 4 tasks for 2 hands. Mathematics suggests this is impossible. But watchmakers learn to overcome mathematics. Or work within it. Or ignore it when necessary. Soft adjustments. Problem solving. I brace the assembly against my body. Against my chest. This frees my left hand slightly. Not completely. But slightly. Enough to maintain pressure on the screw. To keep it from falling. My right hand reaches for the screwdriver. The boxwood handle. Familiar. Comforting. 17 years old. I grasp it. I bring it to the screw. The screwdriver blade approaches the screw head. The screw head is so small. The slot is nearly invisible. Just a hairline cut across the brass. I must find this slot. Must align the blade with it. I lower the blade. It touches the screw head. I feel for the slot. Searching. The blade slides across smooth brass. No slot. I adjust. Search again. There, the blade catches. Drops slightly. It has found the slot. I begin to turn. Clockwise. The screw does not move. The blade is not fully seated in the slot. I press down slightly. More pressure. I turn again. The screw rotates. 1/4 turn. Half a turn. 3/4. 1 full rotation. The screw is threading into the barrel lid. Into the barrel wall below. Joining lid to barrel. Turning. Very slow. Very deliberate. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. 5 rotations. The screw had 8 threads. Or 9. I counted earlier. Or tried to count. At 5 rotations, the screw should be nearly seated. 6 rotations. 7 rotations. 8 rotations. The screw is tight. The first screw is installed. 1 of 5. 20% complete. If 5 screws represent 100%, 20% is 1/5. 1/5 of this task is complete. I remove the screwdriver. I examine the first screw. It is barely visible. Just a tiny brass on the barrel lid surface. But it is there. It is holding. The lid is secured. Partially. 4 more screws remain. A breath. Preparation for repetition. I select the second screw from the leather mat. I must be careful. The screws are so close together. All 5 of them. I might pick up the wrong one. Or pick up 2 screws together. Or knock them all off the mat with a careless movement. Caution. Always caution. I lift the second screw. Alone. Singular. I hold it up briefly. To confirm it is only 1 screw. Yes. 1 screw. Good. I position it above the second hole in the barrel lid. This hole should be at approximately 72 degrees from the first hole. Clockwise. I try to estimate 72 degrees by eye. 72 degrees is 1/5 of a circle. 360 divided by 5. The hole should be at roughly 2 o'clock position. If 12 o'clock was the first screw. I look at the barrel lid. The second hole appears to be at approximately 2 o'clock. Perhaps slightly past 2. Perhaps 2:15. 2:15 would be 107 degrees. Too far. But the hole is where it is. I cannot move it. I can only thread the screw into it. Lowering the screw. Searching for the hole. I lower the screw. The tip searches for the hole. Touches brass. Misses. Adjusts. Touches brass. Misses again. Adjusts. There, the tip drops. The hole is found. I hold the screw. I grasp the screwdriver. I align the blade with the screw slot. The blade finds the slot. I turn. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. 5 rotations. 6 rotations. 7 rotations. 8 rotations. The screw is tight. The second screw is installed. 2 of 5. 40% complete. The pattern is established now. Select screw. Position screw. Find hole. Hold screw. Grasp screwdriver. Align blade. Turn. Count rotations. Tighten. Complete. This pattern will repeat 3 more times. Patterns are comforting. They require less thought. The body learns patterns. Internalizes them. After enough repetitions, the body performs the pattern automatically. The mind is free to wander. To think about other things. Or nothing. Preferably nothing. The third screw being selected. Third screw. Selected. Positioned. Above the third hole. Approximately 4 o'clock position. Or slightly before 4. 3:45 perhaps. I do not know for certain. I am estimating. Estimation is acceptable when precision is geometrically predetermined. The holes were drilled at exact intervals. I need only find them. Not measure them. The screw tip searches. Touches brass. Adjusts. touches brass, adjusts, finds the hole, drops. I hold. I grasp the screwdriver. Align. Turn. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. 5 rotations. 6 rotations. 7 rotations. 8 rotations. Tight. Complete. 3 of 5 screws installed. 60% complete. More than half. The majority of the task is behind me now. Only 2 screws remain. 2 screws between me and completion of the barrel assembly. 2 screws between this stage and the next stage. The next stage will involve the great wheel. I have been anticipating the great wheel. It is a larger component, easier to handle than these tiny screws. I look forward to working with larger things again. Things I can see clearly. Things I can feel properly. A slight sound of fatigue. But first, the 4th screw. I select it from the mat. Only 2 screws remain on the mat now. 2 tiny brass dots on brown leather. I lift one. The 4th screw. I position it above the 4th hole. Approximately 6 o'clock position. The bottom of the lid. Directly opposite the 1st screw. Symmetry. Balance. The watch requires balance. Lower the screw. Search for the hole. Mississippi adjust. Mississippi adjust. Find. Drop. Hold. Screwdriver. Align. Turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tight. Complete. 4 of 5. 80% complete. 1 screw remains. The final screw. The last connection between lid and barrel. After this screw, the barrel assembly will be complete. Completely complete. The mainspring enclosed. The arbor protruding. Ready for the great wheel. The final screw being selected. The last screw sits alone on the leather mat. Isolated. Singular. Waiting. I pick it up. Carefully. This screw is important. Not more important than the others. All screws are equally important. But this one is final. Finality carries weight. Significance. The last screw closes the circle. Completes the pattern. 5 screws at 5 positions around a circle. 360 degrees divided into 5 equal parts. Geometry made manifest in brass. I position the screw above the 5th hole. Approximately 8 o'clock position. Or slightly after 8. The positions are not perfect. My estimations are approximate. But the holes are where they are. Drilled with precision. I need only find them. Lower the screw. Search. Mississippi adjust. Mississippi adjust. Mississippi adjust. The hole is being difficult. Or I am being careless. Fatigue affects precision. I have been working for hours. How many hours? I do not know. The lamp has burned down significantly. Perhaps 3 hours. Perhaps 4. My back aches. My neck is stiff. My eyes are tired. Lamplight is not ideal for close work. Sunlight would be better. But there is no sunlight at night. And most of my work happens at night. Master works during the day. I work at night. This is how apprenticeship functions. The master takes the good hours. The apprentice takes what remains. Continued searching for the hole. I adjust the screw position again. Lower. Search. There, the tip drops. Finally. The 5th hole is found. I hold the screw. I am very careful now. This is the last screw. I do not want to drop it. Do not want to fail at the final step. Success is only meaningful if completed. 99% is the same as 0%. Master says this. The watch either works or it does not. There is no partial credit in watchmaking. Screwdriver. Align the blade. Find the slot. The tiny invisible slot. The blade catches. Seats. I turn. Clockwise. Always clockwise for tightening. 1 rotation. A longer pause between rotations now. Exhaustion evident. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. 4 rotations. 5 rotations. 6 rotations. 7 rotations. 8 rotations. Tight. Complete. The 5th screw is installed. 5 of 5. 100%. The barrel lid is secured. The barrel assembly is complete. A long exhale. Relief. I set down the screwdriver. I lean back on the stool. The stool creaks. I do not care about the creak now. I am too tired to care. I look at the barrel. The lid sits flush against the barrel rim. 5 tiny screws hold it in place. The mainspring is enclosed within. Hidden. Contained. Safe. The barrel arbor protrudes from the lid center. Rising. Waiting for the great wheel. This is progress. Measurable, significant progress. The barrel is complete. How many components have I installed now? The main plate. 4 pillars. The barrel bridge. The barrel. The barrel lid. That is 7 major components. Plus 13 screws. 4 pillar screws. 2 bridge screws. 1 barrel screw. 5 lid screws. 12 screws total. No, 13 screws. I miscounted. The barrel has 1 central screw plus the lid has 5 screws. That is 6 barrel screws total. Plus 4 pillar screws is 10. Plus 2 bridge screws is 12. 12 screws total. Tired mathematical musings. 7 major components. 12 screws. 19 components total. Out of 137. 19 divided by 137 is approximately 14%. I have completed 14% of the watch. This seems like very little. But the barrel assembly was complex. Time-consuming. The remaining components will go faster. Some of them. The wheels are simple. The pinions are simple. Though the escapement is complex. And the balance is very complex. Perhaps the remaining work will not go faster. Perhaps it will go slower. Time is difficult to predict. Even when building time-measuring devices. I stand. My legs barely respond. They are very stiff. I have been sitting for too long. I walk to the window. 5 steps. 6 steps. 7 steps. The workshop has a small window. It faces the street. I look out. It is dark. Completely dark. Night. How late? I do not know. There are no church bells at this hour. The city is quiet. Asleep. Only watchmakers work at this hour. Watchmakers and bakers. And perhaps criminals. But criminals do not concern me. I am inside. With my work. With my brass and steel and tiny screws. The sound of the window being touched. Cold glass. The glass is cold. I can feel the cold radiating from it. Winter is coming. Or perhaps winter is already here. October. November. I lose track of months. They blend together. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. The seasons change but the work remains. Watches do not care about seasons. They mark hours, not weather. I return to the workbench. 7 steps. 6 steps. 5 steps. I sit. The stool creaks. I look at the assembly. The main plate with its pillars and bridges and barrel. It is beginning to resemble a watch. Not yet a watch, but the suggestion of a watch. The implication. The potential. Fabric rustling. Shifting position. Now I must retrieve the great wheel. The great wheel is the first wheel in the gear train. It connects to the barrel arbor. When the mainspring unwinds, it rotates the barrel arbor. The barrel arbor rotates the great wheel. The great wheel rotates the center wheel. The center wheel rotates the third wheel. The third wheel rotates the fourth wheel. The fourth wheel rotates the escape wheel. The escape wheel engages the escapement. The escapement regulates the release of energy. This is how mechanical time is created. Through a chain of rotations. Each rotation precisely calibrated. Precisely measured. Precisely inevitable. The great wheel is stored in the 16th drawer. I stand again. My legs protest more strongly now. They do not want to stand. They want to rest. But there is more work to do. Always more work. The watch is not complete. 14% is not 100%. I must continue. Footsteps. Slow. Labored. I walk to the cabinet. I open the 16th drawer. It slides smoothly. Master oiled it on the first Monday of the month. The oil is still effective. The drawer contains wheels. Various sizes. Various tooth counts. The great wheel is in the second compartment. I see it immediately. It is larger than the other wheels. Perhaps 1½ inches in diameter. Perhaps slightly larger. I remove the great wheel. It is heavy. Heavier than I expected. The weight surprises me every time. Even though I have handled this wheel before. During previous watches. The weight is always surprising. Brass is dense. Denser than it appears. Denser than it seems it should be. The wheel being examined. I hold the great wheel up to the lamplight. The lamp is burning low now. The oil must be nearly depleted. I will need to refill it soon. But not yet. There is still light. Enough light to see the wheel. The wheel is beautiful. 60 teeth around its circumference. I counted them once. During my second week of apprenticeship. 60 teeth. Each tooth precisely cut. Each tooth identical to the others. The teeth are angled. Pitched at approximately 20 degrees. This angle allows the teeth to engage the pinion smoothly. Without grinding. Without excessive friction. 20 degrees is the optimal angle. Master did not explain why. He simply stated it as fact. 20 degrees. I accept this. I accept many things on faith. Faith in Master's knowledge. Faith in geometry. Faith in brass. The great wheel has a central arbor hole. This hole will fit over the barrel arbor. The barrel arbor protruding from the barrel lid. When the barrel arbor rotates, the great wheel will rotate with it. They will move as one. United. Inseparable. I carry the great wheel back to the workbench. 6 steps. 5 steps. 4 steps. I sit. The stool creaks. I am beginning to accept the creak. Perhaps even appreciate it. The creak is consistent. Reliable. In a world of variables, consistency is valuable. The wheel being set down on the leather mat. I place the great wheel on the leather mat. Beside the assembly. The wheel sits flat. Stable. I must clean it before installation. Even though it appears clean. Dust is invisible until it causes problems. Prevention is easier than remedy. Master says this often. An ounce of prevention. A pound of cure. The mathematics are unclear. But the principle is sound. I take the linen cloth. The same cloth I have been using all day. All night. The cloth is very dirty now, covered in brass filings, oil residue. The evidence of work. The evidence of time passing. Each mark on the cloth represents a moment, a task, a small completion. The cloth is a record, a journal in fabric. If someone found this cloth years from now, they could read it, could understand what happened here tonight, though they would not know the details, would not know about the fourth pillar's scratch, would not know about my frustration with the fifth screw. The cloth records actions, not thoughts. This is the limitation of physical objects. They cannot capture intention, only result. Wiping the great wheel. Circular motions. I wipe the great wheel. Front surface. Back surface. The arbor hole. Each tooth. 60 teeth. I do not wipe each tooth individually. That would take too long. I wipe the circumference. The cloth passes over all teeth simultaneously. Collective cleaning. Efficient cleaning. The wheel is clean, ready for installation. But I am tired. Very tired. My eyes are heavy. My hands are slow. Perhaps I should rest. Perhaps I should continue tomorrow. But Master will check my progress in the morning. He will expect the great wheel to be installed. Expectations are obligations. I must meet them. A deep breath. Gathering energy. I position the great wheel above the barrel arbor. The arbor that protrudes from the barrel lid. The great wheel's central hole must align with this arbor. Must slide down over it. Must seat flush against the barrel lid. This is the next connection. The next joining. The next step toward completion. The great wheel being lifted. Heavy brass. I lift the great wheel. Both hands. The weight settles into my palms. 60 teeth. All that brass. All that precision. I hold it above the barrel assembly. Above the arbor that protrudes from the barrel lid. I must lower the wheel carefully. The central hole must align with the arbor. If the alignment is incorrect, the wheel will not seat. Or it will seat crooked. Crooked is unacceptable. Everything must be straight. Perpendicular. Parallel. True. I lower the wheel slowly. Very slowly. My hands are tired. They tremble slightly. Just slightly. Barely noticeable. But I notice. I am very aware of my hands right now. Of their limitations. Of their imperfections. Human hands are remarkable instruments. But they are not perfect. They shake when tired. They slip when cold. They make errors when rushed. I am not rushing. But I am tired. Very tired. A pause. Steadying breath. The great wheel descends. The central hole approaches the barrel arbor. I watch the alignment. The hole appears centered over the arbor. Appears. But appearance is not certainty. I adjust slightly. Left. No. Right. Yes. That looks better. More centered. I continue lowering. The arbor enters the hole. I feel it. The moment of contact. Metal sliding past metal. Brass on brass. The arbor is smooth. Polished. The hole is smooth. Also polished. They are made for each other. Designed to fit together. Like puzzle pieces. Like elements seeking combination. Like separate things becoming one thing. Soft metallic sliding. Extended. The wheel descends along the arbor. Slowly. I control the descent with my hands. I do not let gravity take over. Gravity is impatient. Gravity pulls everything down too quickly. I must be more deliberate than gravity. Must resist its urgency. The wheel is halfway down the arbor now. 3/4 down. Almost seated. The bottom surface of the wheel approaches the top surface of the barrel lid. Brass approaching brass. Getting closer. Closer. There, contact. The great wheel rests on the barrel lid. Flush. Flat. The arbor passes through the wheel's central hole completely. The top of the arbor is visible above the wheel, protruding perhaps 1/8 of an inch. Perhaps less. This is correct. This is how it should be. I release the wheel. Carefully. It remains in place, resting on the barrel lid. Stable. I lean back. I examine the assembly. The main plate. The pillars. The barrel bridge. The barrel. The barrel lid. The great wheel. Layers. Each layer building upon the previous layer. Architecture. In miniature. A building made of brass. A cathedral for time. A long pause. Exhaustion deepening. But the great wheel is not yet secured. It must be fastened. There is a collet for this purpose. A collet is a small brass ring, split on one side. The collet slides onto the arbor, above the great wheel. Then a screw passes through the arbor center. The screw threads into the barrel arbor below. As the screw tightens, it pulls the collet down. The collet presses against the great wheel. The great wheel is sandwiched between the collet above and the barrel lid below. Pressure from both sides. This prevents the wheel from moving vertically, from sliding up or down the arbor. Though it can still rotate. Must be able to rotate. Rotation is its purpose. The collet is stored in the 18th drawer. I must retrieve it. I must stand again. My legs do not want to stand. They have stood and sat many times tonight. Too many times. They are confused. They do not know what position to hold. Standing. Sitting. Standing. Sitting. The alternation is exhausting. More exhausting than maintaining one position would be. Consistency is less tiring than variation. This is true for legs. 4 hands. 4 minds. 4 lives. Slow footsteps. Labored movement. I stand. I walk to the cabinet. How many steps? I have forgotten to count. I have been counting steps all night. All day. Whatever time it is. But this time I forgot. The pattern is broken. This troubles me slightly. But only slightly. I am too tired for significant trouble. Trouble requires energy. I have little energy remaining. I open the 18th drawer. I do not remember opening this drawer before. Perhaps I have. Perhaps I have not. The drawers blur together. 22 drawers. So many drawers. So many compartments within drawers. So many small brass pieces waiting in darkness. Waiting for their moment. Their purpose. Their assembly into something greater than themselves. Metal pieces shifting in the drawer. The collet is in the first compartment. I see several collets. Different sizes. I must select the correct size. The size that matches the barrel arbor diameter. The arbor is perhaps 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Perhaps slightly less. The collet must fit snugly over this diameter. Not too tight. Not too loose. Exactly right. I select the collet. I hold it up to the lamplight. The lamp is very dim now. The oil is nearly depleted. The flame is small. Orange. Flickering. It casts more shadow than light. But there is enough light. Barely enough. I can see the collet. The split running along one side. The opening where the collet can expand to fit over the arbor. Then compress to grip the arbor. I return to the workbench. I do not count steps. I simply walk. Walking is automatic. Learned in infancy. Perfected through decades of practice. or 16 years of practice. I am 16 years old. I have been walking for approximately 15 years. 15 years of steps. How many steps in 15 years? Thousands of steps per day. Perhaps 10,000. 10,000 steps times 365 days per year times 15 years. That is. I cannot calculate this. The numbers are too large. My mind is too tired. Mathematics requires clarity. I have exhaustion. Sitting. The familiar creak. I sit. The stool creaks. The creak is comforting now. Expected. Reliable. A small constant in a night of variables. I examine the collet. It is very small. Perhaps 1/4 inch in diameter. Perhaps slightly larger. The split is clearly visible. A thin gap running from the inside edge to the outside edge. This gap allows the collet to be flexible. To expand and contract. Rigidity would make it useless. Flexibility makes it functional. This is true for collets. 4 minds. 4 people. Flexibility is survival. The collet being tested. I test the collet by squeezing it gently. The split closes slightly. The inside diameter decreases. I release. The split opens. The diameter increases. Good. The collet is functional. Not seized. Not corroded. Not damaged. Sometimes old collets become rigid. The brass oxidizes. Or dirt accumulates in the split. Master cleans the collets regularly. Monthly. On the first Monday. When he oils the drawer, slides and sharpens the screwdriver. First Monday is maintenance day. Everything receives attention on first Monday. Except the stool. The stool is never oiled. I do not know why. I position the collet above the barrel arbor. The arbor that protrudes above the great wheel. I must slide the collet down onto this arbor. The split must be oriented correctly. Facing outward. Not inward toward the wheel. Outward. This allows for easier removal later. If the watch needs service. If the mainspring breaks. If something fails. Everything eventually fails. Watches fail. Bodies fail. Minds fail. Master says a watchmaker must plan for failure. Must make disassembly as easy as assembly. This is wisdom. Or practicality. Perhaps they are the same thing. Lowering the collet onto the arbor. I lower the collet. The inside diameter is slightly smaller than the arbor diameter. The collet must expand slightly to fit. I squeeze the collet gently. Widening the split. Opening the inside diameter. Now I lower it onto the arbor. The arbor enters the collet. The collet slides down the arbor. Smooth. Easy. No resistance. Good. The collet descends. It reaches the great wheel. It rests on top of the wheel. The collet sits there. A small brass ring on top of a large brass wheel. Waiting for the screw. The screw that will compress it. Will lock everything together. A pause. Another component retrieved. The collet screw is in the 7th drawer. Of course. Everything is in the 7th drawer. The 7th drawer is infinite. It contains all screws. All purposes. All solutions. I stand. I walk. I do not count steps. I open the 7th drawer. The familiar smooth slide. I find the compartment. The 10th compartment. Or perhaps the 11th. The compartments blur together. Like the drawers. Like the hours. Like the night. I select a screw. This screw is different from the others. It is longer. Perhaps 3/8 of an inch. Perhaps slightly more. The shaft is threaded only partially. The top portion is smooth. Unthreaded. This smooth portion will pass through the collet without engaging it. Will pass through the great wheel's center hole. Will pass through the barrel lid's arbor. Only at the bottom will the threads engage. Will thread into the barrel arbor. The arbor attached to the barrel itself. This screw will pass through 4 components. Collet. Great wheel. Barrel lid arbor. Barrel arbor. 4 layers of brass. All united by 1 screw. This is the power of threading. Of spiraling metal. Of geometry applied to joining. The screw being examined at length. I hold the screw up to the dim lamplight. I try to count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I lose count. My eyes are too tired. The light is too dim. The threads are too small. I accept that the screw has an appropriate number of threads. Appropriate is undefined, but appropriate nonetheless. Master selected this screw. Placed it in this compartment. Master knows appropriate. I trust his judgment. Trust is easier than verification. Especially when tired. I return to the workbench. Walking. Sitting. Creaking. The pattern continues. Will always continue. Until the watch is complete. Or until I collapse. Whichever comes first. Setting down. Preparation for threading. I position the screw above the collet. The screw must pass through the collet's center hole. The collet has a small hole in its center. I can see it. Barely. A dark spot in the brass. I lower the screw. The tip enters the hole. The screw passes through. Descends. Now the screw tip is above the great wheel's center hole. The same hole the barrel arbor passes through. The screw will follow the arbor down. Parallel to it. Alongside it. Into the depths of the assembly. I lower the screw further. It passes through the great wheel's center hole. Easily. The hole is large enough. Everything fits. Everything was designed to fit. This is the miracle of planning. Of measurement. Of precision. Nothing happens by accident in watchmaking. Every dimension is intentional. Every clearance calculated. Every fit predetermined. The screw descending. Extended silence. The screw continues downward. Through the barrel lid's arbor. The arbor is hollow. The screw passes through this hollow center. A tunnel through the brass. Dark. Invisible. But there. Always there. Even when we cannot see something, it exists. This is faith. Or physics. Perhaps both. The screw tip emerges from the bottom of the barrel lid arbor. Now it approaches the barrel arbor below. The arbor attached to the barrel itself. This arbor is threaded internally. The screw will thread into it. Will engage. Will tighten. Will compress the collet. Will secure the great wheel. Will complete this assembly stage. I feel the screw tip touch the barrel arbor. Contact. I must find the threads now. Must align the screw threads with the arbor's internal threads. This is done by feel. I cannot see inside the barrel. Cannot see the threads. Can only feel. Through the screw. Through my fingers. Through nerves and intuition and experience. 16 years of life. 3 months of apprenticeship. 3 months of touching metal. Of learning its language. Of understanding its responses. Searching for thread engagement. I rotate the screw gently. Clockwise. Searching. The screw turns freely. No engagement. I continue turning. Still free. Still searching. I adjust the angle slightly. Turn again. There, resistance. Subtle resistance. The threads have caught. The screw is engaging the barrel arbor's internal threads. I continue turning. Clockwise. 1 rotation. 2 rotations. 3 rotations. The screw descends into the barrel arbor. Threading deeper. The collet above begins to move. Begins to lower. Slowly. Imperceptibly. But moving. The screw is pulling everything together. Compressing. Uniting. 4 rotations. 5 rotations. 6 rotations. The collet is descending more noticeably now. Pressing down onto the great wheel. The great wheel is being compressed between collet and barrel lid. Pressure increasing. Friction increasing. The wheel cannot slide vertically anymore. Cannot move up or down. Can only rotate. In its designated plane. Around its axis. This is correct. This is intention realized. Continuing to turn. Slower now. 7 rotations. 8 rotations. 9 rotations. 10 rotations. The resistance is significant now. The screw is tight. The assembly is compressed. The great wheel is secured. I should stop turning. But I give one more quarter turn. Just to be certain. Certainty requires extra effort. Master says this. One more quarter turn. Always one more quarter turn. The screw is fully tightened. I remove my hand. I examine the assembly. The great wheel sits on the barrel lid. The collet presses down on the great wheel. The screw holds everything together. Invisible inside the assembly. Doing its work unseen. This is the nature of screws. Of mechanisms. Of everything that functions properly. The best work is invisible work. Work that requires no attention. No maintenance. No thought. It simply works. Silently. Perpetually. Until it doesn't. A very long pause. Near silence. I lean back on the stool. I close my eyes. Just for a moment. Just to rest. My eyelids are so heavy. Heavier than the great wheel. Heavier than brass. Heavier than anything. They want to stay closed. Want to remain down. Want to end this day. This night. This endless assembly. But I cannot stop. Not yet. The great wheel is installed, but the watch is not complete. 14% complete. No, more than 14% now. Perhaps 15%. Perhaps 16. I should calculate. Should determine exact progress. But I cannot. Mathematics requires energy. Focus. Clarity. I have none of these things. I have only the watch. The incomplete watch. The watch that demands completion. Eyes opening. Reluctantly. I open my eyes. The workshop swims into focus. Slowly. The lamp. The workbench. The tools. The assembly. Everything is where it was. Nothing has changed. Only time has passed. How much time? I do not know. Minutes. Hours. Eternities compressed into moments. Or moments stretched into eternities. Time is strange when building time. The next component is the center wheel. The center wheel connects to the great wheel. Gears meshing. Teeth engaging. Power transferring from one wheel to the next. From great wheel to center wheel to third wheel to fourth wheel to escape wheel. A chain of rotation. A cascade of precision. This is how mechanical time flows. Through wheels. Through teeth. Through carefully calculated ratios. Standing. Every movement labored. The center wheel is stored in the 16th drawer. The same drawer as the great wheel. This makes sense. Wheels stored with wheels. Logical organization. Master is very organized. Everything has its place. I appreciate this. Order makes finding things easier. Makes work more efficient. makes the world more comprehensible. Chaos is overwhelming. Order is comfortable. I prefer comfort, especially when tired. I stand. My legs barely support me. They have given up protesting, have moved beyond protest into simple endurance. They stand because standing is required. They sit because sitting is required. They do not question anymore. Do not resist. They simply obey. Like good legs should. Like good apprentices should. Obedience without thought. Performance without question. Slow footsteps to the cabinet. I walk to the cabinet. The 18th drawer is already open. No, the 16th drawer. I was at the 18th drawer earlier. For the collet. Now I need the 16th drawer for the center wheel. I open the 16th drawer. Several wheels rest inside. Different sizes. Different tooth counts. The center wheel is smaller than the great wheel. Perhaps 1 inch in diameter. Perhaps slightly less. I select what appears to be the center wheel. 30 teeth around its circumference. I count them quickly. Approximately 30. I do not count each one. I estimate. Estimation is acceptable when certainty is impractical. And certainty is always impractical when tired. The center wheel has a pinion attached to its center. A pinion is a small gear. Very small. Perhaps 1/4 inch in diameter. Perhaps less. The pinion has perhaps 8 leaves. Or 10 leaves. Leaves are pinion teeth. Smaller than wheel teeth. But similar function. Similar purpose. Transfer of rotation. Transfer of power. Transfer of time. Examining the wheel and pinion assembly. The center wheel and pinion are one piece. Forged together. Or brazed together. Or made together somehow. They cannot be separated. They are married. United permanently. This is different from some components which can be disassembled. Can be separated. Can be independent. But the center wheel and its pinion are inseparable. They rotate as one. Live as one. Function as one. This is their nature. Their design. Their fate. The center wheel being held. Barely. I carry the center wheel back to the workbench. How many steps? I do not count. Counting requires attention. Attention requires wakefulness. I am not entirely awake. Not entirely asleep. Somewhere between. Suspended. Like the barrel between its arbors. Like the mainspring between wound and unwound. Between states. Neither one nor the other. I sit. The stool creaks. The sound is distant. As if coming from another room. Another building. Another city. But I am here. The stool is here. The creak is here. Everything is here. Just distant. Muffled. Wrapped in exhaustion like cloth around a spring. A long pause. Breathing. The center wheel rests in my hand. I look at it. The brass seems to glow slightly in the lamplight. Or perhaps my eyes are creating the glow. Eyes do strange things when tired. See things that are not there. Miss things that are. I blink. The glow remains. Or returns. Or never left. I cannot tell. I must position this wheel in the assembly. The center wheel's pinion must mesh with the great wheel's teeth. The teeth must engage. Must interlock. Like fingers clasping. Like hands holding. Like connections forming between separate things. Making them no longer separate. Making them cooperative. Collaborative. Unified in purpose. The center wheel mounts on a separate arbor. Not the barrel arbor. A different arbor. One of the 4 pillars supports this arbor. No, not supports. Houses. The pillar has a hole drilled through it. The center wheel arbor passes through this hole. The arbor is held in place by the pillar on one side and the barrel bridge on the other. Sandwiched. Like everything in a watch. Everything is between other things. Nothing stands alone. Metal being set down softly. I set the center wheel on the leather mat. I must retrieve the center wheel arbor. The arbor is a separate piece. A steel shaft. Perhaps 1 inch long. Perhaps slightly more. Threaded on both ends. In the middle, a squared section. This squared section fits into a square hole in the center wheel. Square fits into square. Cannot rotate independently. The arbor turns, the wheel turns. The wheel turns, the arbor turns. They are coupled. Married. Bound. The center wheel arbor is stored in the 19th drawer. I think. Or perhaps the 17th drawer. The drawers are blurring. Numbers are blurring. Everything blurs when you are tired enough. Sharp edges become soft. Distinct things become similar. Categories dissolve. There are only objects. Metal objects. Brass and steel. All the same. All different. All necessary. Standing. A long, labored process. I stand. The standing takes longer now. My body moves slowly. As if through water. Thick water. Honey perhaps. Or amber. Liquid that resists movement. That makes every action deliberate. Impossible to rush. I am not rushing. I have not rushed all night. But now I could not rush even if I wanted to. Even if the workshop were burning. Even if time itself demanded speed. My body moves at one pace. Slow. Measured. Inexorable. I walk to the cabinet. I open drawers. The 17th drawer. No. The 19th drawer. No. The 18th drawer. There. Steel arbors. Various lengths. Various diameters. I select what appears to be the correct one. Approximately 1 inch long. Threaded ends. Squared middle section. This must be correct. Or close to correct. Correctness is relative when everything looks similar. The arbor being examined. I hold the arbor close to my face. To my eyes. The lamplight is so dim now. The flame is tiny. A small orange point in darkness. Barely light at all. More suggestion of light than actual illumination. But enough. Barely enough. I can see the arbor. The threads on both ends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threads on one end. I try to count the other end. 1, 2, 3. I forget what I am counting. The threads. Yes. 4, 5. 5 threads on each end. Probably. Approximately. Close enough. The squared section in the middle is very small. Perhaps 1/16 of an inch per side. A tiny square. Cut into the round arbor. This requires precision tooling. Master cut this square on the lathe. Using a special attachment. A milling attachment. I have seen him do this work. Watched him transform round into square. Curve into angle. The process takes several minutes. Each face of the square must be cut individually. 4 faces. 4 cuts. 4 opportunities for error. But Master does not make errors. Or if he makes errors, he does not show them. Does not acknowledge them. They disappear. Like they never existed. Returning to the workbench. Slow steps. I return to the workbench. I sit. Creak. The sound is comforting. Familiar. Like an old friend. Or an old acquaintance. Something that has always been there. Will always be there. Constant in an inconstant world. I must install the arbor through the pillar. But first I must determine which pillar. The diagram shows. I look at the diagram. The drawing swims. The lines waver. I blink. Focus. The center wheel arbor passes through the second pillar. Or the third pillar. One of the middle pillars. Not the first. Not the fourth. One of the middle ones. I choose the second pillar. This feels correct. Feels right. Feeling is all I have now. Logic has abandoned me. Mathematics has abandoned me. Only feeling remains. The second pillar stands on the main plate. Vertical. Perpendicular. I must pass the arbor through it. The pillar has a hole for this purpose. I examined this hole earlier. Or I assume I examined it. I examined so many holes. They accumulate in memory. Blend together. All holes are the same hole. All different. All identical. The arbor being aligned with the pillar. I position the arbor at the pillar's side hole. Not the top hole where the barrel bridge screws. A different hole. A hole through the pillar's side. Perpendicular to the pillar's axis. Geometry becoming complicated. Axes at right angles. Perpendicular perpendicularity. The mind struggles with such concepts. Especially when tired. Especially when the lamp is dim. Especially when time has lost meaning. I insert the arbor into the pillar hole. The arbor enters. Slides through. The fit is close. Precise. Not tight. Not loose. Just right. The arbor emerges from the other side of the pillar. Now the arbor spans the space between the second pillar and the barrel. The arbor floats. Unsupported at one end. Supported at the other. Cantilever. Like a bridge half-built. Like a thought half-formed. Incomplete but suggesting completion. A pause. Extended silence. Now I must mount the center wheel onto the arbor. The center wheel has a squared hole in its center. This hole will fit over the arbor's squared section. Square into square. Perfect fit. Intentional fit. Design fit. I pick up the center wheel. It is heavier than I remember. Or I am weaker than I was. Time erodes strength. Fatigue erodes everything. The wheel rests in my palm. 60 teeth. No, 30 teeth. The great wheel has 60 teeth. The center wheel has 30. I must remember these details. Must keep them separate. Must not confuse. But confusion is easy. Clarity is hard. Clarity requires energy. I position the center wheel near the arbor. The wheel's squared hole must align with the arbor's squared section. I must rotate the wheel until the square aligns. Fourfold symmetry. For positions where alignment is possible. Every 90 degrees. I try the first position. No. The square does not align. I rotate the wheel 90 degrees. Try again. No. Another 90 degrees. No. Another 90 degrees. Yes. The square aligns. The wheel slides onto the arbor. Soft metallic sliding. Extended. The center wheel slides along the arbor. Toward the pillar. The square hole riding on the square arbor section. No rotation possible. Only translation. Linear movement. The wheel approaches the pillar. Contacts the pillar. Stops. The wheel is positioned now. Halfway between the second pillar and the barrel. Suspended on its arbor. Ready to mesh with the great wheel. But does it mesh? I must check. The center wheel's pinion must engage the great wheel's teeth. The teeth must interlock. Must space correctly. Must align properly. Meshing is critical. If the mesh is incorrect, the wheels will bind. Will not rotate smoothly. Will wear excessively. Will fail prematurely. Checking the mesh. Slow observation. I look at where the pinion approaches the great wheel. The small pinion teeth. Perhaps 8 leaves. Or 10. I forget which. The large wheel teeth. 60 teeth. Or 30. No, the great wheel has 60 teeth. I must remember. Must maintain clarity. Clarity is slipping. Like oil on brass. Like time through fingers. Like consciousness towards sleep. The pinion teeth are very close to the wheel teeth. Almost touching. Perhaps 1/32 of an inch clearance. Perhaps less. This is correct clearance. Enough space to prevent binding. Not so much space that the teeth do not engage. The balance between too close and too far. Between contact and separation. Between connected and independent. I rotate the great wheel slightly. By hand. Gently. The wheel turns. Its teeth pass the pinion. 1 tooth. 2 teeth. 3 teeth. The pinion does not move yet. The teeth are not engaging. Not yet. 4 teeth. 5 teeth. There, the pinion moves. Slightly. Just slightly. The teeth have engaged. The great wheel is driving the pinion. The center wheel begins to rotate. Slowly. Following the great wheel's movement. Coupled. Connected. Transferring rotation from one to another. This is correct. This is proper mesh. The gears are engaged. The power transmission is functional. Time can flow from mainspring to great wheel to center wheel. Eventually to third wheel. Fourth wheel. Escape wheel. Escapement. Balance. Time itself. Measured. Divided. Controlled. A long exhalation. Near collapse. I stop rotating the great wheel. The wheels stop moving. Everything is still again. Motionless. Waiting. Watches spend most of their existence waiting. Waiting to be wound. Waiting to be assembled. Waiting to be worn. Waiting to be noticed. Waiting to fulfill purpose. We are all waiting. For something. For completion. For rest. For sleep. Sleep. The word echoes in my mind. Sleep. Such a simple word. 1 syllable. 4 letters. SLEEP. But what it represents. What it promises. Darkness. Peace. Release from thinking. From working. From existing in this perpetual state of exhaustion. My eyes close again. Just for a moment. Just briefly. Brief rest. Microsleep. Master warned about microsleep. Said it is dangerous. Said apprentices sometimes fall asleep at the bench. Drop tools. Drop components. Ruin watches. Injure themselves. But just for a moment. Surely a moment is acceptable. Silence. Extended. Breathing slows. Sudden intake of breath. Waking. I wake. My head had dropped. Forward. Toward the bench. Toward the assembly. I caught myself. Just in time. Before contact. Before disaster. My heart beats faster. Adrenaline. The body's alarm. Warning of danger. Warning of falling. Of failing. I blink rapidly. Trying to restore alertness. Trying to push back the darkness. The sleep that wants to claim me. Not yet. The watch is not complete. I cannot sleep until the watch is complete. This is the rule. The unspoken rule. The rule I have imposed upon myself. Complete the watch. Then sleep. Then rest. Then peace. Breathing steadying. Refocusing with difficulty. The center wheel is installed but not secured. The arbor passes through the pillar. The wheel sits on the arbor. But there is nothing holding the arbor in place. Nothing preventing it from sliding out of the pillar. I need end caps. End caps are small brass pieces. They fit on the arbor ends. One on each end. They prevent the arbor from moving laterally. Keep it positioned. Keep it stable. The end caps are stored somewhere. In one of the drawers. I do not remember which drawer. I do not want to search. Searching requires standing. Walking. Opening drawers. So many drawers. So many compartments. So many small brass pieces. All similar. All different. All necessary but indistinguishable when tired. A moment of decision. Or indecision. Perhaps I can install the end caps later. Perhaps they are not immediately necessary. The arbor is in position. Friction holds it in place. For now. Temporarily. Until I can summon the energy to retrieve the end caps. To install them properly. To complete this stage of assembly. But Master would not approve of this thinking. Master says each step must be completed fully before moving to the next step. No shortcuts. No temporary solutions. No deferred completions. Each action must be finished. Perfected. Verified. Only then can one proceed. This is discipline. This is craft. This is the way of the watchmaker. I know this. I believe this. But I am so tired. A long pause. Internal struggle. I will retrieve the end caps. I will complete this step. I will not take shortcuts. I will not defer. I will be disciplined. Like Master. Like all watchmakers before me. Like all watchmakers after me. This is the tradition. The standard. The requirement. I stand. Again. How many times have I stood tonight? Countless times. Uncounted times. Each standing an effort. Each sitting a relief. Each transition a reminder of physical limitation. Of mortal exhaustion. Of the body's eventual surrender to fatigue. Very slow footsteps. I walk to the cabinet. The end caps are in the 20th drawer. I think. Or perhaps the 21st. High drawers. Drawers I rarely access. Drawers for small specialty components. Jewels. End caps. Tiny screws. Minuscule washers. Things so small they barely exist. Things that matter enormously despite their size. Like atoms. Like moments. Like breaths. I open the 20th drawer. Inside are compartments. So many compartments. Red felt lining each one. The felt is to protect the contents. To prevent scratching. To cushion. The felt is very old. Worn. Faded from red to pink to almost gray. How many hands have reached into these compartments? How many apprentices before me? How many watchmakers across decades? The drawer is a repository of touches. Of moments. Of countless small retrievals spanning years. Searching through compartments. Slowly. I search for end caps. First compartment. Empty. Second compartment. Jewels. Tiny rubies. Not end caps. Third compartment. Washers. Not end caps. Fourth compartment. There. End caps. Small brass discs. Very small. Perhaps 1/8 inch diameter. Perhaps less. With a hole in the center. The arbor will pass through this hole. The end cap will rest against the pillar. Will prevent the arbor from sliding through. I select 2 end caps. One for each arbor end. I hold them in my palm. They are so light. Almost weightless. As if made from condensed air rather than brass. As if they might float away if I open my hand. But I do not open my hand. I close my fingers around them. Containing them. securing them, preventing loss, returning to the bench. Each step deliberate. I return to the workbench. The journey seems longer each time, as if the workshop is expanding, growing larger with each crossing. Or I am moving slower, time dilating, space expanding, relativity on a human scale. Einstein in a watch workshop. The speed of light replaced by the speed of exhausted apprentice. Much slower. Infinitely slower. I sit. Creak. Rest. Breath. The end caps are in my hand. I open my palm. They are still there. Have not disappeared. Have not floated away. Still brass. Still solid. Still real. Despite feeling dreamlike. Despite everything feeling dreamlike. Attempting to install the first end cap. I must slide the first end cap onto the arbor end. The arbor end protruding from the pillar. The end cap hole must align with the arbor. I position the end cap. My fingers are clumsy now. Thick with fatigue. The end cap is so small. The arbor is so small. Bringing them together requires precision I no longer possess. I try. Mississippi, try again. Mississippi. The end cap falls from my fingers. Drops to the leather mat. Bounces once. Twice. Settles. I retrieve the end cap. Try again. This time I am more careful. More deliberate. The end cap hole aligns with the arbor. Slides on. The end cap moves along the arbor. Reaches the pillar. Stops. Rests against the pillar surface. This is correct. This is where it belongs. Very long pause. Breathing heavily. One end cap installed. One remains. The other arbor end. The end on the other side of the pillar. Inside the assembly. Between pillar and barrel. Difficult to access. Difficult to see. Difficult to work with. But necessary. Completion requires both end caps. Not one. Both. Always both. Balance. Symmetry. Completeness. The second end cap. I must install the second end cap. The words repeat in my mind. Second end cap. Second end cap. Like a prayer. Like a mantra. Second end cap. The phrase loses meaning through repetition. Becomes only sounds. Syllables without sense. SEC on end cap. 4 syllables. 4 sounds. 4. I forget what I am counting. I hold the second end cap. I think I hold it. I look at my palm. Yes. There. A small brass disc. Or the memory of a small brass disc. Or the idea of one. Everything is becoming idea rather than substance. Thought rather than matter. The workshop is dissolving into concept. The bench. The tools. The assembly. All becoming abstract. Existing somewhere between reality and dream. A very long pause. The sound of something small being dropped. The end cap falls. Again. My fingers open without permission. Without intention. The body acting independently. Rebelling. Refusing cooperation. The end cap bounces. I watch it bounce. Slowly. So slowly. As if underwater. As if in amber. Each bounce taking longer than it should. Defying physics. Or perhaps physics is changing. Perhaps gravity is weakening. Perhaps time is stopping. Perhaps everything is stopping except this moment. This endless present moment of watching brass bounce on leather. The end cap settles. Finally. Stops moving. Lies still. I should retrieve it. Should pick it up. Should try again. But my hand does not move. I will it to move. The thought travels from brain to hand. Travels slowly. Through tired nerves. Through exhausted synapses. The message arrives corrupted. Incomplete. The hand twitches. Slightly. Not enough. Not movement. Just acknowledgement of intention. Acknowledgement without execution. Another long pause. Breathing becomes slower, deeper. I try again. This time the hand moves. Rises. Approaches the end cap. The fingers descend. Slowly. So slowly. Time is molasses. Time is frozen honey. Time is geological. The fingers reach the end cap. Touch it. Feel the brass. Cool. Solid. Real. The fingers close around it. Lift. Success. Small success. Tiny success. But success nonetheless. The end cap is in my hand again. I have accomplished something. What have I accomplished? Picking up an end cap. This is worth celebration. Or it would be if I had energy for celebration. I have no energy. Only momentum. Momentum carrying me forward. Momentum from hours ago. From when I began. From when I was alert. Was capable. Was competent. That person is gone now. Replaced by this shell. This automaton. This thing that moves without thought. Without will. Without anything but habit. Attempting to position the end cap. Hands shaking visibly. I must slide this end cap onto the arbor. The other end of the arbor. The end inside the assembly. I reach toward it. My hand enters the space between components. Between pillar and barrel. Between brass and brass. Narrow space. Dark space. I cannot see the arbor end clearly. Can barely see anything. The lamp is nearly dead now. The flame is a pinpoint. A suggestion. A memory of light rather than light itself. I feel for the arbor end. With my fingers. Touch brass. Not the arbor. The barrel perhaps. Or the pillar. Everything is brass. Everything feels the same. Smooth. Cool. Indifferent. I search. Touch something else. A screw head. A wheel edge. So many things. So many small metal things. All occupying the same small space. All necessary. All in the way. There. I feel something different. A shaft. Cylindrical. The arbor. Must be. I hope it is. I position the end cap. Trying to align the end cap hole with the arbor shaft. Cannot see. Can only feel. Touch. Hope. Faith in feeling. Faith in blind movement. Faith that intention translates to action. That trying produces result. Extended silence. Struggle. Small sounds of metal on metal. The end cap slides onto something. Onto the arbor. I think. I hope. It moves along the shaft. Slowly. Meeting resistance. Friction. Or misalignment. Or imagination. Perhaps nothing is happening. Perhaps I am dreaming this. Perhaps I have been dreaming all along. Perhaps I am home in bed. Asleep. Safe. Warm. Not here. Not in this cold workshop. Not struggling with invisible end caps in darkness. Not fighting consciousness. Not resisting sleep. Not working. Just sleeping. Just resting. Just being unconscious and peaceful and done. But no. I feel the brass. Feel the resistance. Feel the effort. Dreams do not require effort. Dreams flow. This is not flowing. This is struggling. Therefore not dream. Therefore real. Therefore I must continue. Must complete. Must finish. The end cap seating. A tiny click. The end cap seats against something. The pillar. Or the barrel. Something solid. It stops moving. Rests. Is this correct? Is the end cap in the right position? I do not know. Cannot verify. Cannot see. Can only accept. Must accept. Acceptance is all that remains when verification becomes impossible. I withdraw my hand. From the assembly. From the darkness between components. My hand emerges. Returns to light. To air. To space. The hand is still attached to my arm. The arm still attached to my body. The body still sitting on the stool. The stool still creaking. Everything still connected. Still functioning. Still existing. Despite feeling otherwise. Long exhalation. Near complete exhaustion. Both end caps are installed. I think. Probably. Approximately. The center wheel arbor is secured. Held in place. The center wheel meshes with the great wheel. Gears engaged. Power transmission functional. This stage is complete. Complete enough. Completion is relative. Perfection is impossible. Master seeks perfection but achieves completion. There is a difference. Perfection is the goal. Completion is the reality. Reality is what remains when ideals exhaust themselves. What comes next? I consult my mental list. The list of components. The sequence of assembly. Great wheel. Complete. Center wheel. Complete. Next is third wheel. Yes. Third wheel. Another wheel. Another arbor. Another pillar. Another bridge. Another set of end caps. Another repetition of the pattern. The same pattern. Again. 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 Until all wheels are installed. Until the train is complete. Until time can flow through gears. But I cannot install the third wheel now. Cannot continue. Have reached my limit. The limit of wakefulness. The boundary between conscious and unconscious. The edge of the cliff. One more step and I fall. Fall into darkness. Into sleep. Into nothing. The decision forming. Slow. Inevitable. I will rest. Just for a moment. Just briefly. Close my eyes. Count to 100. Then continue. Then finish. Then complete the watch. But first, rest. Brief rest. Necessary rest. The body demands it. The mind demands it. Everything demands it. And I have no resistance left. No argument remaining. No will to oppose. Only surrender. Sweet surrender. Gentle surrender. Inevitable surrender. My eyes close. Without decision. Without intention. They simply close. The eyelids descend. Like end caps. Like covers. Like shutters over windows. Blocking out light. Blocking out the workshop. Blocking out the watch. Blocking out everything. Extended silence. Only breathing. Slow. Deep. Regular. Darkness. Complete darkness. Not the darkness of the dim workshop. The darkness of closed eyes. The darkness of approaching sleep. This darkness is different. This darkness is welcoming. Comfortable. Safe. The darkness wraps around me. Holds me. Supports me. Like hands. Like the leather mats supporting components. Like the pillars supporting bridges. Everything supports something else. Everything rests on something beneath. I rest on darkness. Darkness rests on nothing. Nothing supports everything. I am very comfortable. The stool is comfortable. Was never comfortable before. Was hard. Was creaky. Was unforgiving. But now it is soft. Supportive. Perfect. Or perhaps I have stopped noticing discomfort. Perhaps comfort and discomfort have merged. Become the same thing. Become irrelevant. Beyond caring. Beyond feeling. Beyond everything. Breathing slower. Deeper. The edge of sleep. I should count to 100. Should track the time. Should measure the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The numbers come slowly. Spaced far apart. Each number its own small effort. Its own small task. 8, 9, 10, 11. What comes after 11? 12. Yes. 12. 13. 14. The numbers continue. Do they continue? Am I counting? Or remembering counting? Or dreaming about counting? The distinction blurs. Counting becomes abstract. Becomes theoretical. Becomes unnecessary. I stop counting. Or forget to continue. Or never started. Time passes. Unmeasured. Uncounted. Unmarked. This is time without watches. Time without mechanism. Time without division. Pure duration. Undifferentiated. Flowing like water. Like oil. Like consciousness into unconsciousness. Very faint sounds. The lamp flickering. Footsteps in the distance. Something changes. A sound. Footsteps. Not my footsteps. Other footsteps. Master's footsteps. Master is approaching. The workshop door opens. Hinges creak. Different creak than the stool. Deeper. Louder. The door creak. Master enters. I should open my eyes. Should sit up. Should show progress. Should demonstrate work. Should prove worth. Should be alert. Attentive. Awake. But I cannot open my eyes. Cannot move. Cannot respond. I am frozen. Paralyzed. Held by exhaustion. Imprisoned by fatigue. Sleep has me. Has claimed me. Will not release me. Master's voice. Distant. Gentle. Sleeping, are we? Master's voice. Quiet. Not angry. Not disappointed. Simply observing. Stating fact. I am sleeping. This is true. This is observable. This is undeniable. I try to respond. Try to explain. Try to apologize. But words do not come. Mouth does not open. Tongue does not move. Only breathing continues. In. Out. In. Out. The only response I can offer. The only communication remaining. The sound of fabric. A blanket being unfolded. Something settles over my shoulders. Fabric. Wool. Heavy. Warm. A blanket. Master has covered me with a blanket. This is unexpected. This is kind. This is permission. Permission to sleep. Permission to rest. Permission to surrender without guilt. Without shame. Without failure. The watch will be here tomorrow, Master says. His voice even quieter now. Almost whispering. Almost as if he too is tired. As if he too understands. As if he too was once an apprentice. Once worked through the night. Once fought sleep. Once lost the fight. Sleep now, Master says. The watch does not need you awake. The watch is patient. The watch will wait. Sleep. Long silence. Only breathing. The lamp extinguished. Complete darkness. The permission is complete. The struggle is over. I can release. Can let go. Can fall into the waiting darkness. Into the patient sleep. Into the dreamless nothing that asks nothing and offers everything. The last thing I remember is warmth. The blanket's warmth. The workshop's warmth. The brass's warmth retained from my hands. All warmth. All comfort. All safe. And then nothing. Extended silence. Perhaps 30 seconds. Only the sound of slow, deep, peaceful breathing. Then, very quietly, the sound of breathing gradually fading into complete silence. The apprentice sleeps. The watch waits. Time continues. Unmeasured. Unmarked. Patient. Eternal. The brass components rest on the leather mat. Cool now. Waiting for morning. Waiting for hands. Waiting for completion. But for now, only waiting. Only stillness. Only silence. Only sleep.